Well, how's everybody doing? Wow, have I found a gem. And this just happened today. This just happened today. House Doge Committee holds hearing on the Smithsonian Institute of American History for rewriting history. It's not even about American. And this is, I've sped it up a little bit. I mean, this is a 2-hour segment, but even I skimmed through like the first 30 minutes, just popping through, seeing what they're saying. I'm like, oh my God, we got to listen to a lot of this. I don't even know what to edit or cut out. We've got to hear this. This is, wow, this is crazy stuff, guys. I'm Now, we did a video, we do a video about a week or two ago where I read just a couple of pages of the report that was dropped. And I put the link in the description of that video where you could go and watch this report that they did an investigating report on everything they have found in the Smithsonian Institute of American History was not American history. It was all propaganda. And then now we're having some hearings on it, and wow, let's just dive right in. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but damn, blame. This is insanity, and I didn't even know this was happening. I didn't even know that they have been doing this for a while. And this woman, there's a woman in charge over the Smithsonian Institute. And boy, does she play dumb. And of course, we're going to have some highlights. Brendan Gill asking her, it has in the report, guys, that Mickey Mouse is racist. Being polite is white supremacist. Those are just a couple of things. Oh, we're on stolen land. We're on stolen land. I mean, the Institute is supposed to be about America, Americans' history, Revolutionary War, the settlers when we first got here, Plymouth Rock. All of this history. No, they've obscured that, and then it's just a propaganda war machine. Our Smithsonian has just become a propaganda war machine for the commie lefts. It's insane. Let's go.
Order. I want to welcome everyone. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time, and I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. Before I do so, I'm probably out of order here, but I have some friends of mine from the Tennessee State Senate. I've spent 12 years in that body, and they actually do a lot of great things for the great state of Tennessee. So thank you all, gentlemen and lady, for being here. You're very welcome. Good morning. We're here to find out about how a once proud American institution fell victim to ideological capture and how to rescue it. The Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History was opened in 1964 to instill in Americans and foreign visitors alike an appreciation of this nation's distinctive heritage and to celebrate its singular story as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. But the museum has strayed, I believe, from the original purpose for which it exists and receives federal taxpayer support. I feel like it's become infected by a woke ideology that's seeped into public displays, educational materials, and planning documents. The American story is the birth and growth of a great nation founded on powerful ideals on which we aim to fully achieve. But in the museum's current telling, history is just an ongoing power struggle between oppressors and the oppressed. Only the oppressed are celebrated, especially illegal immigrants. The museum promotes educational curricula that recommends teachers to avoid using the...
Did you catch that? Only the oppressed is recognized. That we're just oppressors who built America. We're oppressors. We feed the world. We have uplifted so many people out of poverty, but we're the oppressors. Americans are oppressors.
Terms illegal alien and illegal immigrant, while instructing them how to use the terms gender fluidity and gender nonconforming. It hosts staff discussion groups on how museums can be used to foster social action against white privilege and heteropatriarchy. A museum display even accuses Mickey Mouse of having racist origins. The many examples of politicization of the museum are well documented in the comprehensive report the White House Domestic Policy Council recently issued on July 4th, the nation's 250th anniversary. The report makes clear that the museum's woke exhibits and materials reflect a broader vision held by the museum leadership, particularly its director, Dr. Aletha Hartig, who is here today with us. Dr. Hartig proudly takes credit for changing the museum's mission statement, which no longer uses the term American history or refers to the infinite richness of that history. The museum is now guided by an interpretive plan that ensures all topics focus on the core issues of our time.
So remember that, how we talk about word change, newspeak, that it's not American history. They change it to something else. Pay attention to that. It's always the push American history aside. Let's call it something else. Let's call it something else. Diverse. We need to be diversified.
And do we want to guess what they are? Race and identity, gender and sexuality, environmental change, immigration and migrations, and economic inequality top the list. Also, a Center for Restorative Justice at the museum, created under Dr. Hartig's watch, hosted a decolonization working group to investigate historical harms that result in ongoing systematic oppression. To remove any doubt about her intentions, Dr. Hartig, in her own words, states that she views history as a prime tool of social justice. Here's a brief telling video.
A prime tool of social justice. That's what the communists and the socialists, they're all about the social justice. And it's how I feel, how it makes me feel.
The director of Museum of American History, in her public remarks, repeatedly implies Americans are illegitimately occupying their own country.
They're going to show a video.
So tasty,
Oh,
it
man.
could give Medusa a good hair.
Sorry.
Before we begin, let us pause to acknowledge with gratitude the Native peoples on whose land we gather today.
Wow.
These are the ancestral homelands of the Piscataway people, joined by the Nacotchtank and the Powmonkey tribes, and of course their descendants. We acknowledge
She literally said monkey tribe.
the Native peoples more broadly of the Americas. Wherever you are, at this moment, give thanks to the first people on whose land we live, love, struggle, and work. At this moment, give thanks to the first peoples on whose land we're honored to live, love, struggle, and work. Wherever we're viewing this, let us acknowledge and give our respect and gratitude to Native peoples for the opportunity to work and live in their territories.
Is that starting to remind you of Kamala Harris? Like what was that saying she used to say at every clip? What was that saying she said?
And what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
All right, enough. I've got fun.
Okay. I mean, y'all remember that during the campaign? She was saying this over and over and over again. What can be unburdened by what has been. So
also interesting because
we're
the same
being
mass
unburdened.
action
Oh, I've
toolkit
got
that
Brandon
your
Grill
organization
coming
has
up
been
on my
promoting
next tab.
references.
Sorry about that. Now, they have a collage here of her saying, you know, we want to just praise the people whose land that was stolen from them and thank them for letting us live here and build this great nation. Wow. I think the left, they get a slogan and then they just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Now, this one by Kamala Harris was just stupid. Stupid. What can be unburdened by what has been? So basically she's saying we got to be unburdened by the past. Isn't that what they're trying to do at the Smithsonian? They're trying to unburden us. But what has been? We have to be unburdened by the oppressors who built America. The racist oppressors.
Wherever we are today, let us acknowledge and give our respect and gratitude for the opportunity to work and live in their territories. And we're deeply grateful and want to acknowledge and give our respects and gratitude to them and to their ancestors for the opportunity to work in this territory. Let us join in acknowledging the layered complexities of our place, give our respect and gratitude to Native local peoples and the opportunity to live and to work and to study in their territories. So wherever you are at this moment, give thanks to the first peoples on whose land we're honored to live, love, struggle, work, preserve, care, and do our work. We give our respect and our gratitude to all of them for the opportunity to work and to live in their territories.
How did she ever become ahead of the Smithsonian Institute of American History, which she's just crapping all over us by repeating this retarded slogan that she must have memorized. But even in that first clip that he showed to her, it looked like she was reading it.
With that, I yield to Ranking Member Stansbury for opening remarks.
Here we go.
This
Aw.
is how much I used.
I wish I had premium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, we are here because one of the greatest cultural and historical institutions in the world is under attack and is the target of an ongoing campaign to politicize America's independent scientific and cultural institutions by this administration.
Unbelievable.
Let me be clear. The Smithsonian Institution does not belong to the president. It does not belong to a political party. It belongs to the American people. For nearly 180 years, the Smithsonian has served as our nation's museum, our nation's research institution, and our nation's archive. It preserves more than 150 million artifacts and specimens. It welcomes millions of visitors every year from every single congressional district represented by the people in this room. It supports world-class scientific research. It educates future generations of American leaders, and it tells the story of who we are as a people, as Americans. A story that is not perfect. A story that is steeped in, yes, history, tradition, pain, and triumph. That has always been the Smithsonian's mission, to preserve our history, to advance knowledge, and to help the American people understand ourselves using evidence, scholarship, science, and the truth. The mission has never depended on whether history is convenient, whether it's comfortable, or whether you like it or not. It has always depended on whether or not history is accurate. But what we have seen since January of last year, when the Trump administration took office, is that this administration has launched an unprecedented effort to interfere in how American history is told, researched, interpreted, presented, and taught, not just in the Smithsonian, but in our schools, in our institutes of higher education, and through and across the federal government. In March of last year, the president signed an executive order called Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, directing the administration to review the exhibit of our beloved museums and federal historic sites and monuments for what it characterized as improper ideology.
You know, she had me at first, guys. Didn't it start sounding good? Like, yeah, this institution is not for the president. It's not for political ideology. It's for the American people. But now she's attacking Trump because he went and had them do a study of the museum. And boy, and lo and behold, did we find out some heinous things. And listen to her. The Trump administration has gone after them and our schools and had an executive order to find the truth. Well, yeah, I want him to do that. Don't you? Do we just need to get bogged down in when they changed it from history to social studies so we can learn about diversity and all of this gobbledygook, which is nonsense, and you're not teaching the kids the real reason for 4th of July or the Declaration of Independence or how Washington went across the Delaware in the middle of the freezing night and how victorious we were against the most powerful nation on the planet and won? No, you got to talk about Mickey Mouse. You got to do. Let's hear what else she has to say, because good Lord, she's already wearing me out. But she had me at the beginning, and I was thinking, oh, this sounds good, and then boom, she just crapped. She just crapped all over herself.
If that does not send a chill through your spine,
No, it doesn't.
I do not know what does.
Well,
and they
you're
assigned
retarded.
the vice president, J.D. Vance, because of his assigned role as the vice president,
Yep.
as the board of regents, for the responsibility of advancing these objectives.
That's
but I want to
right.
be clear, this order wasn't simply about exhibits. It was about exercising political control over historical scholarship. And what we saw earlier...
Now, wait a minute. So, has any of you guys even read the Smithsonian report? You can go to, I believe it's whitehouse.gov and find the report of all the heinous things that they've taken out. What I mean by heinous things, the heinous things that they replaced and took out stuff. You could barely see anything about the Constitution, about our Revolutionary War, all of this other. It's all about social issues. It's all about gay rights and alphabet soup. It's all about we're on stolen land. It's all about, they sell memorabilia in the gift shop of something to the effect of empowering Hispanics or some retardedness or whatever. I'm not saying that maybe other ethnic groups were a part of American history, then put it in there, but it's just you're going to hear Ben and Gill talk about it. he's Brandon Gill is going to bring that up. That's why I'm mentioning it now, because I did see that clip that he's questioning her. Is like, is this appropriate for you to be selling this type of memorabilia in the Smithsonian Museum of American History? It's American history. American history, period.
This month, which was just referenced by the chairman, is that this White House issued a 162-page report attacking the Smithsonian American History, accusing museum leadership of extreme political activism.
And it is. What do you mean accusing? There's no accusing. It's true.
And calls for sweeping changes, calling
Yes.
out individual leaders by name.
Yes. Good.
That is not policy. That is a political witch hunt.
No, it's not.
The federal government is
Good
responsible.
God, how can that be a political witch hunt when you've got the museum who gets taxpayer money and you are crapping all over America? You're saying that the founders are oppressors, slave owners, and all of this gobbledygoo. I mean, to make it in a bad light. And we're on stolen land. We're on stolen land. Good God, do they not know history? And that means everybody on the planet is on stolen land because some country or another stole this land from that land. And what? Conquering lands? Good God almighty.
For overseeing this independent institution. And this should concern every single member of this committee, regardless of party, because when politicians begin deciding what facts are acceptable, scholarship ceases to be scholarship, it becomes propaganda.
I think that your party decided what would be propaganda. We wouldn't be having this conversation if the leftists, Islamists, communists, socialists, they're the ones that has infiltrated our beloved Smithsonian and turned it into a dumpster fire.
Now, we have seen this throughout American history. A lot of people are talking about the roots of what is happening in this country right now is existing in other countries and other places and other authoritarian governments, but we have seen this here in America with the Lost Cause in the 1920s and the attempt to rewrite American history and to whitewash the Confederacy and slavery.
Whitewash.
We saw this in McCarthyism here in this country when a president and a Congress went after American historians, actors, and cultural institutions to rewrite the history of this country. We have seen it during this administration as they had frozen grant funding to institutions across the country. They have erased the history of our American service members on DOD websites, erasing the contributions of Black, of Hispanic, of Native American, of women, of LGBTQ plus people who have served this great nation in the uniform.
She's talking about him taking away the pictures of them, men dressed as women in the armed forces. Good. I'm glad. Now what? What are you going to say now?
History, if you are a student of history, which is what the Smithsonian is all about, teaches us why this is so dangerous. And I do not think that it is a mistake that the majority's witnesses in front of us, in addition to the director, are associated with the architecture of Project 2025. Because it was articulated in that document, and the institutions and the individuals who are sitting in the White House right now making these decisions, that they want to rewrite the history of this country and take away the resources and leadership of people who have fought.
No. They are not wanting to rewrite history. They want people to know the real history. Let's get it together, people. Let's get it together.
And serve this country for generations so that they could lead in this moment and keep moving our country forward.
Before you buy cat food, take 5.
And they understand that when you remove books, when you rewrite textbooks, when you pressure museums, when you silence scholars, you can do so to articulate power. Now, this is why
the left has totally rewrote the history books. They don't even teach history. They teach social studies.
Today, I am introducing the Smithsonian Integrity and Historical Independence Act. It bars any federal official, including those in the White House who are trying to do this, from trying to interfere in the independent institutions of this country and the historic interpretation of our nation's history.
They want to just keep it to where they could just put anything they want in there and just say everybody's racist. Wow, she wants to pass a bill to say no, even though it says it's American history, which they've totally indoctrinated it with left-wing socialist, communist, Islamist propaganda. Wow. Wow.
And it reasserts our congressional authority over this independent agency. Now, we've seen this over and over again during this administration, that they are trying to take over the independent entities and to assert executive control that even the Supreme Court just ruled a few weeks ago they do not have with the Federal Reserve. And once again, they are trying to do it again here in the Smithsonian. But I want to be clear, we will fight. We will stop them. We will push back in the courts. We will push back here in Congress. And we will push back in our communities all across the country. And we refuse to let historians, artists, scholars, and people who love these institutions with their entire hearts to be punished by an administration that is trying to exercise political control, and rewrite American history. So with that...
Wow. No, whatever the left is fighting for, you know it's bad. You already know it's bad. And it ain't true. It's propaganda. It's to change the culture. It's to rewrite history. It's to indoctrinate. They want your kids to be able to mutilate themselves. You know, in California, that a 12-year-old has to give the parents permission to see their medical records. Yeah, I just saw it the other day. I have it in a stack of stuff, but I didn't get to a show yesterday. I was busy. I was busy doing stuff. But I was like, what? This is a socialist, communist, leftist dream. What dream? That, you know, hey, your kid don't have to... 12 years old. 12 years old. Once they're 12. And you take your kid to... You as a parent, the kid can't drive. Kid can't do crap. You take him to the doctor, and now you can't know his medical records? Why would they do that? Because they want to indoctrinate your kid. If they're not going to let even the parent in the room, this is a problem. I think these parents need to go back to the Supreme Court and go, well, I know they had a win over the school system telling them so the parents could opt out of these alphabet soup indoctrination camps, as that's what all these public schools are in these, especially in these blue states. But come on, man. 12 years old, she's part of that. Could you imagine? I mean, my kid's 15. I had to take him to get a physical the other day, but can you imagine? No, you can't see none of his records. What? And what if they have major health problems? What if your kid has major health problems where you're having to take him all the time, you know, and he's on medicine and all, and you need to be interacting with the doctor. You need to know what's going on. And plus, the doctor could get information from you because you're watching the kid. This is insanity. And she's part of that. She's part of that.
Mr. Chairman, I will yield back, but I'm disappointed after all of the bipartisan work that we've done in this committee to see this subcommittee used once again as a political tool for this administration.
Okay.
And with that, I yield back.
Okay, political tool.
Thank you for your heartfelt comments. Without objection, Representative Carlos Jimenez of Florida, Mr. Frost of Florida, my buddy Kwasi Mafumi of Maryland, and Ariana Presley of Massachusetts are waived on the subcommittee for the purpose of questioning witnesses to today's hearing, and others might come in as well. I'd like to welcome our witnesses. First, we have Dr. Anthea Hartig. Dr. Hartig serves as the Director of the National Museum of American History at the Smithsonian Institution. Next, we have Mike Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez serves as the E Pluribus Unum Senior Fellow for the Catherine and Shelby Cullen Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy at the Heritage Foundation. Next, we have Dr. Matthew Spalding. Dr. Spalding serves as the Kirby Professor in Constitutional Government and Dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government at Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus. Last, we have Dr. David Blight. Dr. Blight serves as Sterling Professor of History at Yale University. And I thank you all for joining us. I look forward to your testimony. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand.
I'm going to swear.
Nature's miracle. Permanently eliminate.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Let the record show the witnesses answered in the affirmative, and thank you all. Y'all may take a seat. We appreciate y'all being here today and look forward to your testimony.
I'm surprised they didn't complain about, he said, so help you God. Just saying.
Only let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statement and it will appear in the full hearing record. Please limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. If you go over, I'll tap the mic, tap the gavel so you'll know. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it is on and the members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow. When the red light comes on, your 5 minutes have expired, and we would like you to please wrap it up. I now recognize Dr. Hartig for her opening statement.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Remember, she was the one that he did the montage of. We just want to thank all the Indian people that thank you for letting us live on this stolen land. That the oppressors oppressed you.
Thank you, sir.
That's her. She kind of looks a little different. She looks like she's aged.
Chairman Burchett, Ranking Member Stansberry, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I know this committee has questions about the National Museum of American History, and I welcome the chance to answer them. As an historian, I have spent my career studying, teaching, and preserving the history of the United States. My family has served this nation since the Revolutionary War, and I was raised with a deep sense of obligation to it and the democratic ideals that the country asks each generation to build and to uphold.
Sure you did.
Since 2019, I have been honored to serve as the Elizabeth McMillan Director of your National Museum of American History, home of the Star-Spangled Banner. It is a true honor to serve alongside my devoted fellow public servants who staff the museum, and I am immensely proud of our work. Congress created the Smithsonian Institution in 1846 with an aspirational mission of diffusion in knowledge. Can you imagine the increase in diffusion of knowledge? It is an independent trust instrumentality outside the executive branch of government and is governed by a board of regents that includes all 3 branches of government and 9 citizen regents appointed by a joint resolution of Congress. The Smithsonian takes the concerns raised in the White House Domestic Policy Council's report seriously, and as we continue to fact-check the report, we unwaveringly attest that it does not fairly or accurately characterize the full body of work at the museum.
Oh my God.
There is always room for improvement. But I also know the beauty and the inspiration and the expertise that lies in our collections, our exhibits, and our programming. When a family walks through the doors of the museum free of charge, as 2 million people did last year, they find the desk on which Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, Horatio Greenhour's magnificent statue of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln's top hat from the night he was assassinated, the Greensboro lunch counter, the gowns of the first ladies, and the stories of Americans in uniform. They find the inventions that changed the world and the ordinary Americans who built it. I have watched 10-year-olds with their families stand in front of the Star-Spangled Banner with their hands over their hearts. No one told them to. That is the National Museum of American History at its most powerful. Patriotism, not instructed, but inspired. Our work is governed by the Smithsonian standards of scholarship, accuracy, independence, and nonpartisanship. The museum does not take sides in America's political debates.
Really?
We preserve and document the evidence of American life in all of its breadth.
Really?
So that the public can encounter the past and draw their own conclusions.
Really?
We are also always learning. When visitors, scholars, members of Congress, veterans, and teachers, volunteers tell us we've gotten something wrong or only half right, we take it seriously. And we make the changes when the evidence supports them.
Wow.
And when historians talk about reframing a traditional narrative, we don't mean erasing it. We mean adding the evidence, the voices, the objects that earlier tellings left out, so that more Americans can see themselves reflected in the national story. We honor the Declaration, the Revolution, the Constitution, our national symbols, and we tell the truth about the times that the country fell short of its own founding ideals. Telling our story fully is a form of respect for the American people and a commitment to constantly being in pursuit of a more perfect union. I hope that you will judge this museum the way that the American people do, by what's on its walls and what's in its care. Please accept our sincere invitation. Walk the building with me. Stand in awe in front of the Star-Spangled Banner. I believe what you will find, mesdames and sirs, is not an institution that has forgotten its country, but one that loves it enough to tell the full sweep of history, our triumphs and our struggles. I love the United States of America. I consider it the privilege of my career to help preserve its treasures and serve the American people. I'm grateful for the chance to answer your questions today. Thank you.
You know what? She swore an oath under God, so help her God. Y'all heard that, right? You heard that. She swore to God she's going to tell the truth. She says she loves America. She's a leftist commie.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Gonzalez for his opening statement.
Chairman, Ranking Member, members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. Following Election Day 2024, Thomas Frank published an op-ed in the New York Times, suitably titled, "The Elites Had It Coming." Here's what Frank, who's a liberal, wrote. Everyone has a moment when he first realized that Donald Trump might well return, and here's mine. It was back in March, during a visit to the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery, when I happened to read a text beside an old painting. It described the westward advance of the United States as settler colonialism. I knew instantly where this nation was going. Some curator at one of our most exalted institutions had decided to use morally loaded academic keyword to address a visitor to the museum, say a family from the Midwest, and teach them a lesson about American wickedness.
Damn.
Teaching lessons about American wickedness is now the mission of the Smithsonian. It is the intent of the leadership, and is precisely what they trained the staff to do. Secretary Lonnie Bunch III, Anthea Hardig, the director of the National Museum of American History and one of today's witnesses, and other museum leaders have commandeered the world's largest museum complex and admit that they intend to use it as a tool of societal transformation. This is not why Americans entrusted these institutions to them. Culture is not passed in the bloodstream. National museums are repositories of a nation's collective inheritance so that it can be transmitted to future generations. However, the Smithsonian's leadership has subverted this mission. Under Dr. Hardig, the History Museum has erased 2 words from the mission statement. The first is history itself. The word history had to go because Dr. Hardig preferred the museum to be, quote, very future-facing. The other word that disappeared in the new mission statement was America itself. Director Hardig said the term America should include, quote, the entirety of the Americas, not just our part of North America. She also said that loving America is complicated.
Yeah.
Dr. Hardig, the director of the National Museum of American History, has deconstructed the museum's mission statement to borrow terms of the postmodernists who clearly guide her work. We're here today, as you said, because on July 4th, the White House released a devastating report focusing on Anthea Hardig's museum and the agenda that she pushes. Read the report and you will find that it is not just postmodernism that guides the leadership. They see the world in terms of power dynamics, who has dominance, and how to wrest it from them by dismantling the American narrative. This is deeply Marxist and Gramscian. In fact, the action toolkit that leadership used to indoctrinate staff at the Smithsonian for years even quotes approvingly from the works of the Frankfurt School's critical theorist Herbert Marcuse. You can understand why Bunch began his tenure by tying the institution to 2 ideological and destructive movements, the 1619 Project and Black Lives Matter. BLM's main leader had made clear in 2019 that the group's goal was to, quote, keep dismantling the organizing principle of this society, unquote. Yet, in July 2020, as the country was burning, Lonnie Bunch wrote that he saw a moment of promise and possibility. Bunch said that the Smithsonian would legitimize the 1619 Project, except that historians from both sides of the spectrum decried the shoddy scholarship and inaccuracies of the 1619 Project. For ideological reasons, Lonnie Bunch put the Smithsonian's reputation at serious risk. And Director Hardig endorsed all of it, pledging to, quote, work to reframe the traditional celebratory narrative of U.S. history, unquote, to force a, quote, national reckoning.
Wow.
National reckoning?
Wow.
In the History Museum? This erasure of American culture must end now.
Yes.
Stanley Kurtz wrote last week, you can say that the economy and foreign policy are more important than these cultural battles. Over the long haul, however, that is simply not true, unquote. You need to clean house and relieve all Smithsonian leadership of their duties.
Yes.
Also, deauthorize the yet-to-be-built Latino and women's museums, which will no doubt become 2 more incubators of anti-American grievances. We can see this in the precursor exhibits that they've had. Loving America is not complicated. Dr. Hardig is wrong. I implore you to do your jobs. Thank you for your attention.
Wow.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Spalding.
Thank you, Chairman Burchett, Ranking Member Stansbury, members of the committee. The National Museum of American History is one of the country's greatest treasures. It contains some of the most iconic artifacts of American history: Jefferson's writing desk, Washington's uniform, the great American flag that inspired the national anthem. But it no longer provides the story that makes those objects intelligible. Indeed, the National Museum of American History is no longer the nation's museum of American history. The White House Domestic Policy Report, Saving America's Story, catalogs in great detail, over 160 pages and 522 footnotes, the many controversial and objectionable displays at the museum, but those details are evidence of a larger transgression. The real crime here, premeditated and followed through, is that America's story, the well-established narrative of main characters and key events long at the center of American self-understanding, has been so reframed, jettisoned, decentered, deconstructed, and problematized that it no longer exists in any recognizable form. America's story has been replaced by an altogether new and controversial approach, defined by postmodern theories that see history as processes of oppressive power struggles, and use history as a tool to encourage social transformation. Now, that might be an interesting abstract discourse for the faculty lounge, but it shouldn't be the rubric for the nation's Smithsonian Museum. The report concludes rightly, in my opinion, that the museum has become subject to institutional capture. That is the big picture, the forest we should not miss for all the trees. But don't take my word for it. The current director has said that at the National Museum of American History, we work to reframe the traditional celebratory narrative of U.S. history. The Center for Restorative History at the museum described its work as systemic intervention, intended to transform the national historical narrative and restructure institutional priorities.
Wow.
The museum's mission has been changed. Its previous mission was to explore the infinite richness and complexity of American history, to help people understand the past. Its new mission is to empower people to create a more just and compassionate future by exploring the complexity of our past. As was noted, American and history are both gone, replaced by our past, and understanding is replaced by empowerment. This is not a history based on established facts and known reality. Indeed, it is not history at all. This is the very definition of an ideology, a systematic framework for interpreting society, challenging the social order, and instigating political and social action. This is not the purpose of the National Museum of American History. It is not the mission of the Smithsonian. It is not Congress's legislative intent. And it is not what taxpayers should be subsidizing to the tune of $1 billion a year. A National Museum of American History should tell the American national story, It should present the facts of history, what actually happened, as accurately as possible and with minimal present-day bias. American history belongs neither to liberals nor conservatives. It belongs, as was noted, to the American people. It should be told, warts and all, so that visitors understand the basic chronological narrative and see how the nation got to where it is today. Nothing integral to that history should be erased or whitewashed. But social transformation should not be the objective. The National Museum of American History should tell the story of a nation and a people driven to overcome injustice and live up to its heritage. A story of imperfection, but also overwhelming accomplishment, of tragedies, but also great triumphs, of hardship, but also heroism. Over the course of our history, Americans have made choices, taken actions, sacrificed, corrected flaws, made a more perfect union, and struggled to live up to those principles. The outcome was never foreknown, but there remains a certain nobility about it. A healthy attachment to this country is neither blind to its flaws nor fanatical in believing that America is the source of all good. Nevertheless, each generation should be equipped with the knowledge of America's principles and history, a reverence for their liberties, and a reflective love of their country. That patriotism must be strong enough and unsentimental enough to coexist with criticism, dissent, disappointment, and opposition. But it is love all the same. Without the civic foundation supplied by reflective patriotism, a self-governing people, a republic will perish. A museum focused on claims of systematic oppression teaches national self-loathing. Why should taxpayers subsidize a museum that teaches contempt for their country and reframes it past to serve ideological purposes?
Self-loathing.
Such a museum is not worthy of a great country, should not receive the imprimatur of Congress, and is unfit to shape the minds and hearts of the American people.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Self-loathing. How many times have we heard that? You white people are oppressors. You should be, ashamed at your whiteness. We've all heard all of this. And why would you not tell the Smithsonian needs to present history with no indoctrination and no dialogue, no commentary, no review. You tell the history as it's history. That's just my theory. Here, this next guy, wow.
Thank you, Dr. Spaulding. Dr. Blight.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
listen to this.
Ranking member and members of the committee. It's a very special privilege as a historian to have this opportunity to defend one's craft.
How much
money?
As
historians, we often dwell in the past, and professionally, we should. But in spring of 2025, with President Trump's executive order restoring truth and sanity to American history, and now with the White House's report saving America's story, the president has come storming into our work lives with vengeance.
That's
we
right.
welcome the challenge. The present is inherently interwoven with the past. The White House now believes it should pronounce on the nature of history and the presentation of the nation's treasures at the Smithsonian. The recent report by the White House Domestic Policy Council is nothing less than a declaration of political war on the historian's profession.
Good.
As well as on the freedom and curiosity of anyone who reads or visits museums. In other words, President Trump has declared war on free minds and free education.
No.
Historians are not voices of the state. We are keepers of memory. And at our best, we're storytellers with trained imaginations. And yet, they declare with such certainty.
Wait. He just said they had trained imaginations. Yeah, we're on stolen land. That's some imagination there, buddy.
What forms of, and these are the words of the report, heritage, destiny, settled truths, and indeed stories that the Smithsonian should instill, one of the report's favorite verbs, in the minds of the public.
Yes.
Historians are now fighting back in the interest of scholarly history, well told, for the broadest possible public. Ours is a beautiful, an ancient craft, essential for any society's need for self-understanding. We are equipped with a host of modern methods, but guided ethically by very old rules that no authoritarian political project ought to be allowed to profane.
Sorry.
As a historian reads, listens, searches, measures, imagines his or her way into and through all manner of evidence, facts, sometimes clear, sometimes slanted every which way. We examine, read, accumulate, sift, study these modes of evidence with hopefully empathy and humility. Then we rise up from all our data and our sources and all manner of context and fashion all this into a story, into narrative, in order to inspire and take our audiences somewhere. And once we get them there, we are bound by our craft to make an argument about why this all happened and why it matters. People often comment on how Trumpism would like to return us to some version of the 1950s when America was great.
Why not?
In this report, they have transparently done just that. The report is rooted explicitly in the Cold War of the 1950s, in the founding of the National Museum of American History, its legislation and dedication speeches. The founding words and sentiments understandably breathed the rhetoric of Cold War triumphalism. How could it have been otherwise? The report offers no context for what might have invoked such expressions. The Soviet achievement of the hydrogen bomb, Sputnik, the Korean War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the March on Washington, and the assassination of President Kennedy. Had the Domestic Policy Council consulted trained historians, they might have provided some context. They might also have consulted Edward R. Murrow's famous commentary in 1954, the year after the museum was conceived, on Joseph McCarthy and his assaults on free speech. We can deny our heritage and our history, said Morrow, but we cannot escape responsibility for the result. Erase McCarthyism, and it will come back. Erase any other 50 difficult aspects of American history, they will come back. Triumphalist history cannot tolerate nuance, ambiguity, complexity, but they are lifeblood for real historians. Also, in a deep Cold War context, James Baldwin wrote in an essay entitled, also 1962, As Much Truth as One Can Bear, that the problem with the way Americans approach history is that, quoting him, words are mostly used to cover the sleeper, but not to wake him up.
Wow.
We do not write woke history, whatever that is.
Yeah,
but we do try to awaken citizens. In recent decades, we sowed the wind with new kinds of history. Here comes the whirlwind. If we're not careful, we will end up with what the great writer Toni Morrison called statist history, and it will create what she called sanctioned ignorance.
Talk about 1984. We all know what the woke wants to do. We all know what the Uganda Zohan Islamist Mandami, socialist communist Mandami in New York and his ilk, they want socialism. They want to rewrite history. They want to dumb down the education. Good Lord. Did y'all buy anything this guy just said but a bunch of gobbledygook? That Trump wants to rewrite history? Trump wants to impose his dictatorship on the American people? No! He wants them to have American history, period. Oh man, don't you love how they spin and twist everything?
What's at risk? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Without objection, my buddy Representative Don Beyer of Virginia is waived on the subcommittee for purpose of questioning witness to today's hearing. And is Mr. Burleson, is he not here? Okay. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions.
I recognize myself.
Chair Lady.
I love him.
Hartig, is that what we call you? Or director? What, director or doctor? You're a doctor? Okay, you got director up there, doctor. I'll call you doctor. You earned it, I'll give you the title. How about that?
Doctor
One
or
time I made a
what?
mistake of calling a coach mister, and he reminded me he was coach. So you earned that title, and you get it. I do appreciate your constant land acknowledgments that were in the film. I'm wondering, have you ever planned on deeding any of your personal property or property of the Smithsonian to any of these tribes?
I don't believe that's pertinent to
Yeah,
the conversation, sir.
Well, I mean, you say that every time you open your meetings, apparently. And I was just curious of that acknowledgement, if that was something you were planning on doing. Should the American History Museum be the site that focuses in on what we have in common, the shared national heritage of great ideals and revolutionary events, or focus on what you deemed the issue of the day, which are race, identity, gender, and sexuality?
Ooh.
If your cat has FELV, don't worry. Feel like
I'm so sorry. I don't have premium, guys. I'm sorry.
Ma'am?
Yes, sir. At the National Museum of American History, we strive to create a museum where our visitors will be inspired by the collections, programs, and exhibitions, and they will choose what they each will do to keep our American democracy strong and vibrant, and they'll play that chosen part with passion. That is our hope.
Okay. I do think that most Americans would agree with you on what the most important issues are. How does the museum determine those core issues?
Wait. And it's not social issues, social injustice, white oppressors. He said, your opening statement, you repeated it every time for your committee hearings, for your little consultations with your leftist commie buddies. Are you going to give up your land, your home, or whatever you have to the people that you said we're on stolen land? You gotta love Temper Chat. You gotta love it. That was epic.
Day.
So the Smithsonian and the museum are committed.
Oh, hold up, man. I mean, we got to get that question down. Let's see.
And Mr. Burleson, he's not here? Okay. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions.
Oh, hold up.
Male genitalia. Do you really think heritage of great ideals and revolutionary events were focused on what you deemed the issue of the day, which are race, identity, gender, and sexuality? Ma'am?
Oh, she has to think about it. Gender and sexuality. Is this what needs to be in the museum?
Yes, sir. At the National Museum of American History, we strive to create a museum where our visitors will be inspired by the collections, programs, and exhibitions, and they will choose what they each will do to keep our American democracy strong and vibrant. And they'll play that chosen part with passion. That is our hope.
Okay.
Wow.
I do think that most Americans would agree with you on what the most important issues are. How does the museum determine those core issues of the day?
So the Smithsonian and the museum are committed to rigorous, fact-based, museum-quality experiences and to tell the full and rich story of America in a way that enlightens and welcomes every visitor. We use historical evidence, competing perspectives, and acknowledge enduring debates so that visitors can understand how we've wrestled with democracy and liberty and national identity.
She's reading
so
that.
In our work to document the stories of all Americans throughout time, we really do hope that everyone who comes in can see themselves reflected.
Gender and sexuality are highlighted by your museum. The poster behind me shows an exhibit called Entertainment Nation on display now. Do you think these exhibits behind me are appropriate for children?
So I recognize some of the
the
images from Entertainment Nation and from, I think, some other sources. But
wow, look at that. Look at this woman right here. The one that was, oh, here, I'm in the way. Let me get out of the way. Oh, no, I don't have it. I've got the screen really big. My bad. The redhead that talked at the beginning, she's like, huh?
Let me, I think, tell you what I think is most important.
Ma'am, I mean, you have pictures of bondage.
Yeah.
You have some
Come on.
overtly sexual things up there. You have transgendered folks. I assume that's what they are. And some, I don't care who it is. It's still not a fan, I can tell you that. But in another exhibit, a 6-year-old girl asked why she doesn't have male genitalia. Do you really think that content is appropriate for children? I mean, do you think little girls have penises? I mean, let's get to the basics of this. Do you think that's appropriate?
So, sir, I believe the exhibition and project you're referring to is Girlhood, It's Complicated, which was a temporary exhibit in our museum that closed, I believe, in 2020.
Ma'am, I didn't ask you that. I asked you, do you think is it appropriate?
So in that exhibit, sir, with permission of the author, we shared a 13-year-old's diary, which I believe is what you're discussing.
Yes.
In that diary, they wrote about sleepovers and Latin class and math exams.
Ma'am, do you think that's appropriate? I appreciate this. We're limited on
wrestling.
time, ma'am. Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that is appropriate for a child to see? Yes or no?
I understand your question, sir. But
No, you don't. You're not answering. You're just running on, ma'am, and I appreciate your hospitality, but the reality is you are not answering the questions. You are funded by taxpayers, and the taxpayers would like to know, is that appropriate?
So, sir, Girlhood, It's Complicated was not designed for children. It had a label in the beginning of the exhibition that shared with parents about some of the topics that would be covered. And we do that with exhibitions that we think kind of need that help. So parents then can come and
All right. Well,
look
thank
at
you, ma'am.
objects.
I understand you're not going to answer, and I'm going to run out of time. But given some of your previous comments, including America was founded based on the supremacy of white men, loving America is very complicated. America's 250th anniversary is worth problematizing. Do you think you should continue leading the National Museum of American History?
Burn.
It's the honor of my career to serve as the Elizabeth McMillan Director of the National Museum of American
Thank you, ma'am. We're out of time.
Thank you, sir.
All right. The next, Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank the witnesses for attending and to help the committee with its work. I'd like to level set this hearing, though.
Brandon.
So I'm going to ask you, as in this discussion about our history, Dr. Hardig, who won the 2020 presidential election?
Oh, good Lord.
Please, I only have so much time. Is that a tough question?
Good morning, sir. No, it's not a tough question. Joseph R. Biden won the election.
Great. Mr. Gonzalez?
That's not a tough question. It's not controversial. Oh, no, it's not. But answering the question, is that appropriate for children, she hummed and hawed and then finally said, well, we don't have that exhibit anymore. But then we gave parents an option. I mean, I don't even know I wish he had more time to hammer back. Like, what? Are you telling me that this exhibit, you have to be a certain age to go see read a 13-year-old's diary? And how the hell did they get a 13-year-old girl's diary and then put up all those exhibit things of bondage and all of this kind of crap? Wow. But nope, it's easy to say Biden won.
Biden was president from 2021 to 2020. Who won the election, sir? I'm just trying to test where you're coming from.
Oh, snap.
Biden won the election. Excuse me?
Biden won the election.
Okay, Dr. Spalding? Thank you. Dr. Blight? Okay, great. Thank you. So Oh,
I'll answer for all of them. No, Biden cheated. They cheated. We know China was involved. All the stuff that just came out. What do you mean? You want to know where they're coming from? Because if they said no, we suspect China, Venezuela, all of them were going in and the machines, going into the machines, man, into the matrix and changing all of the, I mean, good God. It's almost the same like at what happened in California, where all of a sudden 40,000 mail-in ballots came in for that Indian woman or whatever the hell she is, and she beat Spencer Pratt. What do you think happened with Joe Biden? A whole bunch of votes came in later. All for him. They were saying this was almost mathematically impossible. But it happened. That those votes came in for Biden.
you're all keenly interested in preserving American history. I heard from all of you
Sure
that
they are.
you
Sure
care
they
about
are.
the facts, the evidence, the narrative.
Sure they are.
You know, as an Irish Catholic from Boston, I was in the third
crap.
grade when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And
Oh, crap.
Vistaprint is where your big ideas become.
the nuns in our school
Oh, my
made sure
God.
we understood everything about JFK's
Oh, my God.
life.
I really want to
You know,
skip
he was-
him.
A lot of people don't realize
I
he's the
really
only
do.
president to ever receive the Purple Heart.
Good
Because
Lord.
of his heroism in the Solomon Islands during the Second World War.
Second World War.
And importantly, he and Jacqueline Kennedy were the principal founders of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And much of the drive came from Jacqueline, to be honest with you, but the president and
Oh,
the
my
first
God.
lady raised all the funding for the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And in his life, you know, and at the end of his life, President Kennedy sacrificed everything for this country. And you know where I'm going with this.
Maybe that's why he was
The
assassinated.
current president came in, having nothing to do
From
with the
people like
establishment
you.
of that institution, and put his name above John F. Kennedy's on the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts.
So what?
As an Irish Catholic from South Boston, that was stolen valor. That was stolen valor. He had nothing to do with that.
Oh, my God.
And it was distortion of history.
What a retard. We're not even talking about that, and nobody cares. We want to know why the Smithsonian Institute is telling that if you're polite, you are white supremacists. White people are the oppressors. We're on stolen land. Get back to it. Shut up about Trump. And he wants to put his name somewhere. Who cares? What about that guy Byrd that was in the Senate for about a million years? And he was the senator of West Virginia. His name is on everything in West Virginia. Nobody cares.
Someone who visited that for the first time, they would not know. They would not know the history of that building and the fact that it's the only building in the United States Capitol that honors Kennedy's memory and his legacy. Kennedy sacrificed everything.
Move on. Nobody cares.
You know? He inspired me to get into politics.
Only the left cares about that.
Dr. Blight, let me ask you, is distorting that in that stolen valor, renaming that building, changing the history of that building with no basis for doing so, is that a distortion of our history as well?
Of course it is. Erase it and it will come back. On that day, I was in Mr. Barron's 9th grade civics class when he went to the door to get the information that Kennedy had been shot, and he addressed the class to tell us the president was dead. I will never forget that. Yeah. And what a great museum does, what a good class does, what a historic site does, is it simply inspires a sense of history. Why the past matters. Yeah. You could not have been in a schoolroom that day and not had a sense of history. It certainly was part of mine.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know, I understand, you know, sometimes political correctness can act as censorship, or it can distort the history and you know, the way we.
What does the left do about political correctness? You call me by my pronouns. Wow. Man.
View the world, and I understand that.
Really want to skip him.
I understand some of the pushback is about perhaps the censorship that is present in political correctness. But then the facts are the facts. Dear God, you know, the president, you know, continually goes back to 2020 election to say that he won it.
Yeah,
and we
he
should
did.
stand together and reject that.
He
crap.
did win.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, sir. Yield
Wow.
to Mr. Cloud from Texas.
He asked
you,
one
Mr.
stupid
Chairman.
question.
Director Hardig, I've visited, as I have many times, the Museum of American History. And what I think I find most troubling is the fact that you can do a lot with real history. And what's concerning is the distortion, I think, of the truth and in the context. And just for example, the American Democracy, A Great Leap of Faith, this exhibit, you turn the corner and the first thing you see is this, it's a wall. And the two words, of course, that pop out are privilege and slavery.
Damn.
Is that a part of American history? Sure. Should it be covered up? No. But what makes America unique and exceptional isn't, for example, the fact that slavery was a part of our history. It was a part of almost every nation's history. What makes America unique is the fact that we worked to overcome it and we're leading on the world stage in getting rid of it. And as I walk through, you mentioned as you walk through the doors, you'll see Thomas Jefferson's desk, you'll see, Abraham Lincoln's top hat, and those are in the museum, yes, but that is not what you see when you walk in. What you see is exhibits to social reform. You'll see displays in the end caps or the glass displays on the side, pictures of drag show or pro-abortion language and all these different kind of things. I'm curious, I was really surprised as we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation. How did we come up with the 250th anniversary? Like, what are we celebrating in the 250th anniversary?
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your visit. And we've hosted, I think, since January, 25 senators and House
Ma'am,
representatives.
I know your intention today is to filibuster the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
There's a particular document that was signed on July 4th, 1776, for which we celebrate. Could you?
Absolutely, sir. So when you come into the museum right now, since
That would be the
they-
Declaration of Independence, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I was
And so
surprised to
when you-
find that in the Museum of American History, on the 250th year of our anniversary, there's not an exhibit for the Declaration of Independence. Now, sure, there's Jefferson's desk, and it takes up a very small space but you would think, I went through the museum looking for the words, "we the people." And you would think when you walked in, that would be the biggest, boldest thing, especially on the 250th anniversary, the idea of e pluribus unum, where out of many become one. That's what makes America unique. And yet, your take seems to be to take the uniqueness, the unity of America, and to try to divide us up into different things. Who made the decision not to have a display for the Declaration of Independence on our 250th anniversary?
So, sir, I'm going to go maybe back a few beats and answer your I think, your first question of the four. So the Declaration of Independence, of course, signed and ratified on July 4th in 1776 in Philadelphia, appears on a full wall in the Price of Freedom, our history of the military on our third floor, eastern wing. It's a blow-up size.
It's
and then
a
it's in the
standard exhibit.
it's in the
It's there
Linda,
in the back, but you have to walk through a bunch of junk to get there.
Not
And as a matter of fact, right now, you would think
I'm happy to answer your question,
this
sir.
would have been a great time to pull out all the artifacts. I thought, let me look and try to find something on John Adams. And I'm not saying it's not there, but it's hard to find. John Adams, John Jay, Caesar Rodney. We can talk about Crispus Attucks, Phillis Wheatley, the poet laureate of American Revolution. All these different kind of things. What would you say is the most influential book in American history?
So if I may go back to your second
What
question.
would you say is the most influential book in
May I
American
go back to your second
history?
question?
You can answer the one I just asked you.
Well, as a historian, it's probably hard to choose which is the most influential book in the United States history, but I can tell you what's the most influential document, and that is the Declaration of Independence, which appears in different ways
Most
at least
influential
4 or
book.
5 times.
The founders
in-
quoted one book more than any other book.
What book was that?
The founders were very well read, and as you know, Thomas Jefferson's library became the core of the Library of
Yes,
Congress.
and that book would have been the Bible. Secondly, would have been Common Sense by Thomas Paine. I went to the bookstore. I couldn't find Common Sense in the bookstore. I did find, these books. Here's George Takei. It rhymes with Decay. A book in which he talks about, one young man lusting after another. I'm not sure why this is in our American History Museum in the kids section, mind you.
Damn.
That's you think is important to have it in the American History Museum?
So George Takei, as you know, the actor from Star Trek,
Yeah, we know
was
who he is.
incarcerated during World War II as the result of Executive Order 9066.
you're-
And his children's book, I think, is a beautiful
Who made the decision to
story,
put that in there but not Common Sense?
especially with Senator Alan Simpson. Thank you, sir.
Pay decisions don't have to be scattered, manual, or hard.
Mr. Subramanian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're here for a hearing entitled Rewriting American History, Examining the Smithsonian's Efforts to Reshape the Past. And this was in response to a Domestic Policy Council report. The Domestic Policy Council is a part of the White House. And what's interesting is that
Now, wait a minute. I don't know what he's going to say, but let's back up to what that guy said. We all know who George Takei is. He's Sulu from Star Trek. And we all know he's gay. Why does he have a book on gayness in a children's section in the Smithsonian's Museum of American History? I don't care. He's a stupid actor. Who cares? But why would he have a book and not a book on common sense? And again, I loved how he brought up that they didn't have, soon as you're walking in, to celebrate this year of 250 years of American history, and you got to go upstairs to the third floor, to the back west wing to see the Constitution. Would you have one of the oldest Bibles, all the Constitution stuff, everything from the Revolutionary War, all our great victories and losses during the Revolutionary War, what was achieved, we the people, shouldn't that have all been like, they should have just decorated it very patriotic? Wouldn't that have been amazing? I don't know who this guy is. Let's see what he says.
I was looking back. This seems to be one of the only Domestic Policy Council standalone reports this year. In fact, perhaps this administration. The only one I could find was the last one they did on the National Report on Paper Straws. And so this is how our Domestic Policy Council is spending its time at a time where we...
Oh, crap. So, so that guy, him, the old man before the guy we just watched talking about the gay exhibits and crap, and then the redhead. What have they all done? They're bringing up the Trump administration. The Trump administration. Let's defer and let's not talk about what's being on display at the Smithsonian, but let's talk about how draconian the Trump administration is. That he's going to force his will on the American people because he wants to rewrite history. Wow.
We have higher costs across the board, where we have a war going on in the Middle East, and where we have people hurting every single day, losing their access to healthcare, losing their access to food assistance because this Domestic Policy Council recommended it be cut.
Yeah, because we're going to cut off all the illegals off, right? We're going to cut them off. They need to go. But you left us. You want to keep these illegals here. You want to keep them on the payroll of the American taxpayer. Let's hear more.
That's where we are right now, and I think it's really important. Mr. Gonzalez, I want to go back to a quote. You quoted Stanley Kurtz in your opening saying, you can say that the economy and foreign policy are more important than these cultural battles over the long haul. That's simply not true. Do you stand by that these cultural battles are more important than our economy and our foreign policy?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think it was Lincoln who said, no soldier, no foreign soldier,
so take
a drink from the Mississippi.
So you think that this particular hearing on what where the Smithsonian is putting Thomas Jefferson's desk is more important than people facing higher utility costs?
That's not what the report is focused on.
That's what you just said.
No.
Who cares no, the Smithsonian isn't supposed to be telling us how much we're paying for gas right now. No, it's about history. I mean, if we want to go there, then why don't you tell them how bad things were during the Biden administration, where some places were up to $8, $9 a gallon. We were almost up to $4 a gallon here in Tennessee. Well, let's talk about that.
Oh, the cultural battles are more important to you and more important than the higher costs of living that Americans are facing today.
Over the long term, they are, and it's not about where Thomas Jefferson's desk is.
I think the president would agree with you. I think this administration would agree with you, and that's how they've acted. And so let's just talk about the report, since everyone wants to be here to talk about it, it seems. The report actually had a lot of things that weren't true. For instance, the opening of it talked about how the Smithsonian wasn't speaking enough about America 250, but I looked at the Smithsonian's website, and the first thing it talked about was America 250. Director Hartig, did the Smithsonian talk about America 250?
Yes, sir. We've been planning for years to celebrate this semi-quincentennial, and it's an honor to do so.
And the report complained that Thomas Jefferson's writing desk and George Washington's uniform were not on prominent display. Were they on display at the American History Museum?
Not in the front.
Yes, sir. And then we're honored that Jefferson's writing desk went over to the Smithsonian Castle to be part of Secretary Bunch's American Aspirations exhibition.
And then it said it didn't have quotes from the Declaration of Independence. I guess they were nitpicking about one specific sentence. Are quotes from the Declaration of Independence on full display at the museum?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it seems like it wasn't a very good report either. But I looked back, and by their admission, it was a months-long report involving multiple staff. Mr. Gonzalez, how much money do you think that report cost the American taxpayers?
Who cares?
Because you're at the Heritage Foundation, so I know you care a lot about American taxpayers.
I have no idea.
You didn't ask about how much the report actually cost?
Wow. It would be hard to assess. Given all the input that went into the report, how much it cost.
I asked AI, they said probably millions, potentially.
Okay.
Because
probably.
of staff time, because of outside...
I would advise you against using AI, however.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
I had to ask somebody because you didn't have the answer.
It hallucinates a lot.
Yeah, sounds good.
Burn.
Well, the other thing is, do you think there should be mentions of Trump's impeachment at the museum?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it happened. It's history.
Do you think there should be a wing of the museum dedicated to President Trump?
I have no idea. I'm not a curator. I don't know whether there should be a wing dedicated to President
Dr.
Trump.
Spalding, do you think there should be a wing of the museum dedicated to President Trump?
I don't think there should be a wing dedicated to any one president.
Okay, interesting. Even George Washington?
I think in the context of what he did in terms of the American Revolution, that kind of thing.
I think what's
yes.
actually happening, it's not that you don't want ideology in the museum, it's that you want your ideology in the museum. And you want the museum to reflect your values, your specific views on things, and not the views of what actually happened, which was the facts. And so that's what we want, is we want the facts in the museum. We want people to come away with patriotism, because they will if you show them the facts of this great country. And so I
completely agree.
applaud for everything that's happened in this first 250 years of America, the good and the bad. The bad wouldn't have led to as good as what we've gotten.
100%.
And I look forward to the next 250 years. I look forward to teaching my kids and grandkids the facts. I yield back.
We agree.
Wow. Yeah, blame it.
Thanks.
Well, I think there should be a wing for every president we've had in the United States, and there needs to be a thing of what they've accomplished, what they accomplished, what the economy was like, what was the rate of inflation, what was the cost of gas, what was happening in the world at the time this president was in office. Facts, not ideology, not deterring, but just say it. Like there should be a wing of Biden in there. There should be a wing of Obama. What was his policies? What was some of his speeches? Just saying.
Sir, Ms. Nice from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hartig, how many children visited the National Museum of American History last year?
Hi, good morning, ma'am.
Answer the question, how many kids?
Good morning, ma'am. Since we don't charge,
Are you the director of the museum?
I am, ma'am.
Okay, and you don't know how many people visited the museum last year?
2 million.
How many of those were children?
Ma'am, I don't have
even
those
know.
exact figures
Okay.
for you, but I'm happy
do
to
you
take
agree that
back.
educating children about American history is a core duty of the museum? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
And are images of sexual fetishes appropriate for children? Yes or no?
So, ma'am,
It's a simple yes or no. Or is
understand.
sexual imagery, provocative sexual imagery, appropriate for kids? Yes or no?
Ma'am, we strive to represent all Americans.
You strive to represent
fullness of
queer,
American-
pedophiles, indoctrination, grooming of kids at an American History Museum. And it sounds like you're proud of it. You won't answer the questions, probably because you're ashamed. And as a woman, I really can't believe you will sit here today and you can't even admit that sexual imagery, like this behind me, they tell me, my staff tells me, this little trinket around the penis, this is BDSM, in a setting where children are walking through. That's disgusting. Like, what kind of message are you trying to send to kids with BDSM imagery? What are you trying to tell kids? Are you sexualizing children? Is that what your motive is for the museum?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yep.
So that specific two-piece.
Do you know how many kids get raped by adults every year in this country? This kind of thing, when you are dressing men up as women, drag queens, you're putting this kind of crap in front of kids, sexualizes them and makes them more vulnerable to people that want to rape them or abuse them. Or when we have men and women's settings that want to do harm to women. You talked about the girlhood exhibit, and you didn't want to answer the chairman's questions earlier, but it was a diary featuring a 6-year-old that reads, everybody was talking about getting boobs in their period. I pray to God every night for my penis to grow. Dr. Hartig, can you tell me, look me in the eye, and tell me that that belongs in an exhibit for kids?
Ma'am, girlhood, it's complicated. It was
Wow.
not an exhibit designed for children.
I know, you had the
diary-
little disclaimer thing, which is sort of
The
a...
diary was of a 13-year-old going through puberty.
Okay, do you think that's an appropriate thing to put in an American History Museum where there are children walking through? We're talking about American history.
Right, so girlhood, it complicated. It's
Okay, I'm moving on because you
explored.
just, I don't know how much money you spent on getting prepped for this hearing. They did a good job because you're filibustering and not answering a single question from a single Republican. Today, do you believe that men can become women?
Ma'am, as the director of the museum, that's not relevant in this case.
Yeah, it is.
It's very relevant. You've got men dressed up as women and you have them on displays in front of kids. Do you think men can become women, yes or no?
So RuPaul's Drag Race, which is the upper...
It's a man, RuPaul is a man who dresses like a woman, literally.
Correct.
What is a woman, Dr. Hartig?
As a director and as a historian, it's not my opportunity.
You sexualize the American History Museum, so this is a fair question. What is a woman?
Yeah, burn.
So at the museum,
What is a woman?
we strive to represent and not categorize all
Okay,
Americans.
I have another
Wow.
question for you. There's a glossary at the museum that informs visitors that while American culture traditionally recognizes 2 genders, other countries recognize 3 or more. So enlighten me this morning. How many genders are there?
Ma'am, which glossary?
This is a display, and it has a glossary that says other countries recognize 3 or more genders. So I would like you to enlighten me today. You're the director of the American History Museum who sexualized things in front of kids. I want to ask you, how many genders are there?
So first of all, I'm happy to get
How
back
many?
to you about the glossary.
How many genders are there?
Sure.
And what are they?
I'm not sure which glossary you're speaking of.
Of course, I know that you don't. You know exactly what this hearing was about today. One of your exhibits at the American History Museum says sometimes gender isn't revealed at birth. So when is gender revealed?
So
When was your gender revealed to you, Dr. Hartig?
So I don't really think that's relevant to the
It is
Yeah,
relevant.
it
You
is.
have a display at the American History Museum talking about gender isn't always revealed at birth. So when was your gender revealed?
So since I am a PhD and
I wasn't done yet, but I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mace.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually glad we're having this hearing today of the Subcommittee on Government Efficiency, because finally we have abandoned the pretense that this subcommittee has anything to do with government efficiency. Just like Elon Musk's Doge wasn't about efficiency.
Oh, crap.
It was an ideological purge of the federal government.
Man, the hypocrisy of government efficiency. How many trillion? Man, y'all know it's gonna go into trillions. All the fraud that's going over the whole country. Look what's happening. The dumpster fire in California. Gavin Newsom's under a lot of stress. All the NGOs that funnel money, and it's all Democrats, man. It's all Democrats. Who brought in the Somalians? Who brought in the Haitians? Who brought in the millions upon millions? It was the Democrats. It was Biden administration. It was Obama's administration. And who have we being frauded from? All the illegals they imported. Now he's going to talk about finances and where they spent money. I'm glad. I don't care how much it costs for the Trump administration to go find out, to tell me, because I didn't know about it, to tell us what the hell is going on at the Smithsonian History of America. The History of America, the Smithsonian Institution. And apparently, they're going to be talking about drag queens. They're going to be talking about there's more than 2 genders. When was your gender? She's like, what's a woman? Well, I don't know. Let's hear what this turd has to say.
Assault on the Smithsonian has nothing to do with efficiency. It's an ideological effort. To quote Mr. Gonzalez, a cultural...
Ideological effort and cultural. Whatever the left says, it's what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing. It's insane. It's called doublespeak, newspeak. Man, wow. Once you hear it and see it, you can't unsee it and you can't unhear it. When you start hearing how they talk and how they twist things around and change the words, like she's changed the word that it's not even history, it's American culture. It's American culture. The social American culture society. That's our rich history of diversity.
Battle. But let's go ahead and talk about rewriting history. Let's talk about it. Because that's what the Trump administration is doing as we speak.
Oh, my God.
It's Jackie Robinson. Before he stepped onto Ebbets Field, he wore the uniform of the United States Army. He broke Major League Baseball's color barrier in 1947. He didn't just transform a sport. He challenged one of the last great institutions of legalized segregation in America. He helped move our country closer to the promise that talent and character matter more than the color of your skin. I guess for President Trump's Department of Defense, he was part of the DEI problem we've heard about today, because he got erased.
Turn after turn.
Removed from the website, canceled, restored only after public outcry. The Tuskegee Airmen flew more than 15,000 combat missions during World War II, escorting American bombers over Europe. They didn't just help defeat Nazi Germany, they helped to dismantle segregation in the U.S. Armed Forces. Somehow, they're also part of the DEI problem we've heard about today because they were erased. The Air Force removed a documentary on the Tuskegee Airmen from their course instruction. Navajo code talkers, young Navajo Marines developed an unbreakable battlefield code that Japanese forces couldn't crack. It helped American forces win some of the toughest battles in the Pacific, saved countless American lives. Also, apparently, part of the DEI problem, because they got erased.
If it's a
now
DEI...
the Trump administration, my Republican...
I'm going to say, if I think they legitimately thought this is a DEI problem, this leads down the road to DEI, then yeah, get rid of it. Just being honest, man. Look, man, you got Jackson. I got a clip of her. Wow. Jasmine Crockett. Jackson on the Supreme Court. You can't tell me these women are not DEI hires, because they certainly are. They certainly are. DEI is a problem.
Colleagues are focusing their anti-DEI erasure efforts on the Smithsonian. Last week, they released this report we've discussed today, saying the museum has been captured by, quote, extreme political activism. It's pretty extreme, deleting Jackie Robinson. Why the report? Because the museum tells the full American story.
No.
It examines slavery alongside liberty.
Wow.
It discusses immigration alongside citizenship.
Wow.
It recognizes the struggle for civil rights alongside
immigration alongside it. No. How about the millions upon millions of illegals who are here and killing American citizens?
our founding ideals and, yes, the flaws of our founders. But according to this administration, that's not patriotic. They erased Jackie Robinson. They erased the Tuskegee Airmen.
I would have to look into this, guys, because I don't know if I'm buying this or how much, maybe they were revamping. I don't know. But it's kind of hard to find it. Why would they delete that? I mean, is there something behind it, right? Because if the left is saying it, I am completely doubting it. I'm just going out on a limb here.
They erased the Navajo code talkers, and now they want to take their big orange eraser to a proud American institution, the Smithsonian. We should reject this effort to erase our history because in America, the truth has always been our strength. It's not a weakness, Mr. Gonzalez and Dr. Spalding. Dr. Blight, can you tell us the damage that is done when history, Jackie Robinson, Navajo code talkers, Tuskegee Airmen is erased from websites, from course instructions? How does that hurt America?
Well, if you want inspiration from...
Oh, from course instructions. So, okay. So he's saying it's just been deleted and erased, but maybe they've revamped the course of however they're revamping the military. They don't need to learn about diversity. They don't need DEI, and if you're a guy, you can't be dressing up as a woman, wearing women's stuff. So, see, I told you, I was suspecting foul play here by him misrepresenting what Hegseth has done. So I'm thinking maybe they've revamped and restructured how they're going to do their courses. Okay, all right, that makes more sense.
From history, you can't start any better than this. Delete Jackie Robinson and he'll come back. His name was Hank Aaron.
Wow.
His name was Frank Robinson. His name was Bob Gibson, and I could name 1,000 more. Good luck trying to delete anything that people really care about in our history. They're going to find out about it. And the fact that you can even delete it is something they can take because they have some faith in institutions like the Smithsonian, which they love and want to go to. We'll bring that story to them. What's lost is curiosity, understanding. Our job as historians is to understand the dead. Sorry, you become relevant when you're dead. But the reason we want to understand the dead is so that we can really understand the living.
Well, wait a second. So why do we need to understand transgender people or look at bondage crap from sadomasochist whatever? from and then reading a diary of a little child. And I don't even think I'm buying that, man. That's some creepy stuff. Did some grown-up who wrote this when they were 13 donated it to... Oh, I know. My diary can go to the Smithsonian Institute. Because I talked about stuff before puberty. What is happening?
Delete the dead because somehow they don't fit a category that we like in the present.
Oh, my God.
Is to soil the present.
Why don't we talk about what you have on display, what you're promoting, not what you think should, we should be talking about what you think should be there, but they're not. They're just bringing up something that the Secretary of War revamping the structure of teaching the military. That didn't mean they deleted it. What is happening? Why aren't they talking about what is the stuff that's inappropriate that's on display at the Smithsonian? That's what I want to hear about.
Thank you. You're back.
Mr. Gill from Texas, you're recognized.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing and to the witnesses for taking the time to travel all the way out here. Director Hardig, thank you for being here. Would you say that the goal of history, even if it's not properly carried out, would you say that the goal of history is to be objective?
Are you ready to feel good about your body?
What's she gonna say?
Thank you, sir, for the question. I think that there are many goals of history, and certainly as you collect, as we do, examine evidence, create scholarship.
Is objectivity one of the goals of history?
We strive to be objective and nonpartisan and not based on any ideology.
So it's one of the goals. Doesn't that seem a little bit concerning? It certainly does to me because As part of this white supremacy document that your organization has promoted, objectivity is a core and defining aspect of white supremacy culture. Do you think that it's the goal of the Smithsonian Institution to promote white supremacy culture?
Sir, do you mind sharing with me which document?
It's white supremacy culture right here. This is part of the mass action toolkit that your organization has promoted for several years now under your leadership.
Mm.
Are you promoting a white supremacy culture at the Smithsonian?
Am I promoting white?
Ma'am, is this a difficult question?
No, sir, I'm just thinking about the mass action toolkit. We didn't develop it, but back to your question, no, we're not promoting any ideology.
Does it concern you that your goal is objectivity, one of your goals is objectivity, and your mass action toolkit references objectivity as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture?
It's not our toolkit.
It is your toolkit. You've been promoting it for quite some time.
We did not come up with a toolkit, sir.
But you've been promoting it.
It is used as a reference, I believe, probably in 2019, 2020.
Yes, under your leadership, it has been used as a reference. Is Mickey Mouse racist?
Mickey Mouse is not racist.
It's not racist. According to the Smithsonian Institution, one of your exhibits referenced Mickey Mouse as representing, quote, vestiges of longstanding traditions of blackface minstrelsy. Would you describe that as racist?
No, the historical trajectory of the origins of Mickey Mouse tie directly
so Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism. Is that your testimony?
No, sir, it's rooted in minstrelsy.
Minstrelsy, and you don't think that blackface minstrelsy is racist?
It has certain obvious racial overtones that have been well documented.
You think that that's problematic that Mickey Mouse also has those racial overtones?
It's not for me to determine what's problematic. It's determined to me what's accurate.
Is that right?
Yes,
is it important to be polite?
Excuse me, sir?
Is it important to be polite?
Yes, sir.
Also interesting because the same mass action toolkit that your organization has been promoting references politeness as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. Ma'am, are you a white supremacist?
No, sir.
You're not. Can you help me square why your organization says that being polite is part of being a white supremacist?
I'm not exactly familiar with that passage of the mass action toolkit, which is not
I can show you
one
the
that we
passage
developed.
right here.
Yes, she
I don't.
is.
Pardon me?
I said I just read you the passage from it.
And then your question was, sir?
We're going to move on. What is Latina power?
There it is.
What is Latino power?
Latina power.
Latina power would be the forces derived from being a Latina.
Do you think that it's appropriate for the Smithsonian Institution to sell Latina power paraphernalia? Hats, mugs, other things that say Latina power?
I believe that the merchandise our store sells
I'm asking you if it's appropriate.
Tries to reflect the richness of the communities.
So your testimony is that it is appropriate?
Those are your words, sir.
I'm asking you, is it appropriate to sell Latina power paraphernalia? It's a yes or no question.
I don't have control over what is sold.
I'm asking you if it's appropriate. I didn't ask you if you have control over it. Is
I
it
understood,
appropriate?
sir. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Again, we strive to represent all Americans and including
Is it
in our
appropriate, yes or
merchandise.
no?
We strive to represent all Americans in our museums, including in our merchandise.
Is that right? And
Yes,
time's
sir.
up.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Mafumi, Maryland.
Chairman, UC request?
Yes.
Ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a Newsweek article from March 19, 2025 titled Jackie Robinson's Army History Deleted by Pentagon.
So ordered. Anything else? Mr. Mafumi, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to make the most out of it by making some very clear points. Black people across this country are outraged at what is happening now with these efforts to do away with the African American Museum and all of the Smithsonian. They're outraged because they've lived too many years, been through too many struggles, suffered too many bruises, and clearly have very, very, very little to show for that sojourn here in this country.
Holy crap.
I want to be real clear about this. If you erase it, we will replace it. It's that damn simple.
Oh.
We don't seem to learn.
I think he just said the quiet part out loud. Because they're erasing history. White history.
Anything, we should be looking at history to learn and to make sure that we are taking advantage of what we've done.
I don't think this was taken out of the Smithsonian. My brain, what I picked up on, and the guy just said it, that this was a part of some kind of training program in the military. That they took it out for as part of the training program. Because I guarantee you they had some kind of DEI, diversity training program. And this was in that diversity training program. It had nothing to do with Bro being a soldier in World War II and being a baseball player. It had to do with they were equating, we have to push this ideology, we have to push DEI down the throats. And it was probably some broad DEI template under the Biden administration had So that's my, I think I'm right. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I don't think they said, no, you need to take this out of the Smithsonian. I'm not thinking that's true. I'm thinking it has something to do with the military.
Learned. You know, it was Abraham Lincoln in 1848 who addressed his countrymen in Edwardsville, Illinois, and he said, and I quote, "When you have succeeded in dehumanizing the Negro, when you have put him down and made it but for him to be, but as the beast of the field.
Oh my God.
When you have extinguished his soul in this world and placed him where the ray of hope is blown out, as in the darkness of the damned.
Hi, I'm Colonel America.
Are you quite sure, he asked, that the demon you have roused will not one day turn and rend you? He said, what constitutes the bulwark of our freedom and our independence? It is not, said Lincoln, our crown and balance.
Oh,
it is
my
not
God.
our armies and our navies. It is not our bristling seacoast. All those things are not.
Why do we get this from these black representatives that we have to get a sermon on? Oh, basically what he's saying is that all white people are oppressors, and we want to erase black history. And he goes on this stupid, retarded rant that has nothing to do with the museum.
On our reliance against tyranny, because they can all be turned against us
Oh my
without having
God.
made us weaker for the struggle. Our reliance.
How can they change this into race and whip out the race card every single time they find a way?
He said, as Americans, is in the love of liberty which God has planted deep within all of us, regardless of how we look and where we come from. He said, our reliance is in the spirit of freedom, which prides itself as the heritage of all men in all lands everywhere.
Blah,
And then he admonished,
blah.
destroy that spirit, and you would have planted the seeds of despotism at your own doorstep. Ignore, he said, the chains of human bondage.
Oh
and
my
you prepare
God,
one day for
shut
your own
up.
limbs to wear them. Accustom, he said, to trample on the rights of other people, and you would have lost the creative genius
And look where you're
of your
sitting.
own American independence.
You are a freaking senator. What are you, or your House of Representatives? What are you doing? You're black. You were elected to represent a district. How are you oppressed from the oppressors? God. I bet he lives in a wonderful home, beautiful home. I bet he's got a fantastic car. And I guarantee you, he's got the best health insurance possible. More than any of us sitting here right now. But yet, he is screaming racism to the high heaven. And it is the hypocrisy.
And as such, will become the fit subjects of the first cunning tyrant who rises among you.
Oh,
Sound
my God.
familiar?
No.
History taught us and still teaches us that we can't keep making the same mistakes. So I know this is a big discussion about a lot of aspects about the museum. But I'm here as a black man who grew up in segregation, who wasn't allowed to go through.
I'm here as a black man, and I'm in the House of Representatives, and I have a really nice house. I've got a great health care package. Thank you, taxpayers of America, which include majority of whites are the ones paying your salary. We make it the portion of the population. But no, you're here as a black man. Okay, so?
Places, who drank from a water fountain that said colored, who found his mother and his father unable to do
Oh my God. Stop.
anything other than basic day work. And if for no one else, if for them and their spirit and all the other nameless and faceless black men in this country and black women
Move
who
on.
made their bodies bridges,
Move
that some
on.
of us could get to the university, that some of us could
Okay.
get to a good job, that some of us could get to the United States, if for no other reason. I want this to go out loud and clear. And I'm not speaking just on behalf of myself. I know that I speak on behalf of so many people who are not here today. We will not let you destroy that museum. No matter how
Wow.
long it takes, how many battles are required, how much effort is needed, we will not allow that.
Yeah, because we want illegal and migration. We want to talk about the tragedies of the Trump administration with ICE, and we want kids to see bondage stuff. We want George Tataki's book in there that talks about gay love in a children's section. We want a 13-year-old's diary to be in there and talk about her wanting her penis to grow, all kinds of cray-cray. Oh, yeah, we're going to fight Trump all the way. We want all of these things in the Smithsonian's Museum of American History. That's what we want in there.
To happen unless you find a way to kill all of us and walk over our bodies to change history.
Wow.
That history is too sacred. It
Wow.
is too precious, and it will not be erased. Because, as I said,
What does a whole bunch of different genders have to do with history? Other than a section in the museum could go, wow, America went retard during the Biden administration. That should be in the Biden administration exhibit, that they promoted pronouns for you to force somebody's speech to call somebody when you can clearly see they're a man, to call them a she. Come on, man, that's compelling speech. That's draconian.
if you attempt to erase it, we will continue to replace it over and over and over again. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. No questions for the panel. Not one.
Mr. Burleson.
Just a stupid, retarded rant.
Director Hardig, what do you believe is the core purpose of the National Museum of History, of American History?
Thank you, sir, and good morning. The beauty, I think, of the museum is to truly take the over 2 million objects we have, with
What is the
best
core purpose?
scholarship
What is
around
what is
them,
your mission? What's the core
and
purpose?
to tell the richest story of America's past that we can. Our mission is to empower people to create a more just and compassionate future by preserving, sharing, and exploring the complexities of our past.
Okay. In your 2024 presentation, you said the museum changed its mission in part to help people get out of the America, quote unquote, America First mentality. So my question is, what's specifically wrong about the American First mentality?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Watch what eggs do.
So we changed the mission like most organizations and corporations do. When I came, that we had an expired strategic plan and we created a new mission.
So is your contention that you just changed it because you just needed to change it under your direction?
No, most directors.
I'm asking
changed it.
specifically, you made the statement that you have to get out of the quote unquote America First mentality. What did you mean by that?
I'm not sure which of my public appearances you're
Stop.
referring to, sir.
You know.
Director Hardig, let me ask you, are you America First?
I'm a very proud American.
That's great to hear. Do you love America?
I love this country unconditionally.
That's great to hear. At one point you stated that loving America is very complicated. Let me ask you this. Recently we had visitors from all over the globe for the World Cup. What I think is the common thread that we saw across all social media platforms was an astonishment and astonishment and amazement of things that preconceived ideas that they had about this country. Some of those preconceived ideas were that Americans were dangerous, that everywhere they would go, there would be shootings and people, all of the crime that would occur. There were preconceived notions that Americans were all hostile and xenophobic, that Americans were, that everyone is living in poverty unless you're rich. Do you think, after this happened, what do you think caused the rest of the world to believe all of these ills about the United States of America, these falsehoods about this country?
You know, the World Cup was truly remarkable in terms of how it brought everyone together. I'm unsure what they were using as their basis for those conclusions, sir.
Well, some people are spreading
Propaganda.
false information about the United States.
Propaganda.
Right? And you say you love this country, America's first. You proud of America's history?
Absolutely, warts and all.
Okay. So wouldn't it be nice if the rest of the world saw the history of the United States as being the country that led the world through economic prosperity, particularly after World War II with the Marshall Plan, led multiple nations out of prosperity?
Absolutely, sir. And in our Mars Hall of American Enterprise, which tells the amazing story of American business, they'd see just that.
Wouldn't it be great if the rest of the world saw us as what we truly are, is the one country that led the world and inspired them to eliminate slavery, to eliminate all of the genocides that happen?
Absolutely, and I think when they come through the museum, overwhelmingly, wherever they're from Nashville, Tennessee to Nome, Alaska, they come out and they come out more inspired.
So what was the
more
origin of that?
motivated.
What was the origin of what created all of these great things that inspired the rest of the world, that lifted people out of poverty, that ended genocides, or at least inspired the world to end their genocides? What was the original precipice of that? What was the original beginning?
So the Revolutionary Era, of course, with its brilliant founding documents, with the Declaration of Independence, with those two soaring paragraphs.
So I think that what we're trying
is
to
the origin.
compel, what I'm trying to convey is that when the rest of the world is having a hard time with disinformation, there's enough negative things that are being said, you would think the one institution that would be trumpeting the great and wonderful things that this country has done, especially at a time where we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of this country, would be to showcase our founders. And with that, I yield back.
Yeah, thank you, sir, and absolutely
Thank
I agree.
Mr. Frost from Florida, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got to say, listening to this hearing, I think many of my colleagues would benefit from actually stepping foot in the Smithsonian institutions, maybe not just reading talking points from the White House or reading what they're supposed to say. I've been in these museums. Talking about the National Museum of African American History and Culture specifically, it tells the whole story. The ugly and how America and Americans came together to get rid of slavery, to fight Jim Crow. But it tells the whole story. So maybe this committee should do like a field trip and actually go through these institutions to actually see the full story be told, because I would contend that many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have never stepped foot in many of these institutions, at least not in a long time. Director Hartig, thank you for being here. Can you please share a little bit about your experience as a historian?
Oh,
Holy crap.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. I came to history as an undergraduate. I thought I was going to be an English major, but I took my
Oh
first
my
history
God.
class, and I was rowing crew for UCLA at the time, and I hoisted my 10-speed on my shoulder, and I walked up the stairs to the history
Oh
department,
my
and I
God.
wanted to be an historian. And since then, as a public servant and as a public
And then
historian,
now I want to be a man. I want to be a man.
in which we look at archives and
Oh my
material
God.
culture and museum work and historic preservation work, I've been completely motivated to figure out how then I can best serve the nation, and being the Elizabeth Macmillan Director of the museum certainly is the highest calling.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, are you a professional historian?
Actually, I have been paid by publishers to write history, so I am.
Okay, how many exhibits have you curated?
Oh, no, I'm not a curator.
Okay, how many exhibits have you curated? It's a separate question.
I haven't curated any exhibits,
Okay,
because I'm
thank
not a
you.
curator.
Dr. Hartig, thank you. You haven't curated any exhibits, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Hartig, is your work partisan?
No, sir, our work is not. We don't seek to advance any political agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Does the museum...
What? You have exhibits of homosexuality? A book in the children's section? Of gay men? What?
museum take political sides or have a political agenda?
No, sir.
Does the museum have exhibits that challenge people's views or may make them feel uncomfortable?
Yes!
History is incredibly challenging, and by then its very nature, if we tell it in its richness, we absolutely, I think, have objects that can make people uncomfortable. And I hearken back to Secretary Bunch's words that he was told by a sharecropper that, tell the people both what they want to hear and what they need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think depending on where you are, certainly there can be a level of discomfort.
Oh my God.
Thank you. What review process does a museum use before opening an exhibit?
So the museum goes through a rigorous...
We got to consult Biden, Harris, Obama. We got to consult the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. We've got to talk with them. We're all on speed dial. And we're like, how can we throw America under the bus? Oh, man.
Scholarly presentation of the way in which exhibit objects and stories and interpretation relate to one another. That's reviewed extensively, also depending on the size of the exhibit. Our In Pursuit of Life, Liberty, and Happiness exhibition, our 250 object exhibition for America 250, went through exhaustive review with also peer reviews as well. Then it is presented up to the undersecretaries and often the secretary in conversation with our review.
Thank you, Director. Mr. Gonzalez, who should decide what's in a museum?
I would say that the curator, but also overseen by the leadership of the museum. The taxpayer does spend $1.1 billion in the Smithsonian, so the Smithsonian is accountable to the American taxpayer.
All right, thank you. I have a yes or no question. Should exhibits capture American history as it happened without bias?
Yes.
Yes.
Was slavery a part of American history?
Yes.
Yes.
Was Jim Crow a part of American history?
Yes.
Is it important that museums discuss these topics at length so people understand the gravity?
Absolutely yes.
Do you believe that American art should be consistent with the Trump administration's cultural and political goals?
I have no idea what that is. I cannot
Yeah,
comment.
what
Do
is
you
that?
believe that American art, or do you believe that the Smithsonian's goals should be consistent with the Trump administration's cultural and political goals?
I don't know how you define that. I cannot answer it.
You seem to have a long-standing personal vendetta against the Smithsonian that started well before the White House report. And I ask you those questions because I'm concerned about censorship. I'm no historian either, just like you. But I know that Nazi Germany weaponized art and museums to demonize certain groups. Dr. Blight, if Congress or the White House starts deciding historical interpretation, how is that different from political censorship?
It is political censorship. Their model may indeed be...
We have to have those pictures of people in bondage and sex outfits, and we need the trans men dressed as women. We need that art up there. Yeah, we need all that.
Joseph Goebbels' Committee on Enlightenment, which is what the Nazis called their committee that tried to control museums.
I'm sorry,
Thank
sir.
you. I yield back.
Time's up.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman, I have a UC request. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to enter into the record as unanimous consent Reuters article from January 2025. Trump's anti-DEI order yanks Air Force videos of Tuskegee airmen and female pilots.
So ordered. Mr. Fallon, Texas, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Hartig, you hold a very prestigious position. It's an awesome responsibility. We're honoring American history, and we have a rich history in these past 250 years. In 2019, when you took did you take the job in 19? Is that right?
Good morning, sir, and yes, I did.
Okay. And what was your pay then? How much did they pay you?
My starting pay was $300,000.
Damn.
It is about $370,000, which is
Damn.
paid from an endowment, not federal funds.
Okay, but you do agree that you work for the American people?
Every day, sir.
All right, and all of them, even the ones you disagree with?
We welcome everyone to the
All
museum.
right, wonderful.
Yes.
Are the majority of the funds for the museum paid for by the American taxpayer?
So of the Smithsonian's appropriation, for which we're very
The
grateful.
majority is?
Yes.
All right, just because
So-
we have limited time.
Yeah, so if I may, sir, so
Wait, again, sorry, we have very limited time, but it's
I
a majority.
appreciate
All right, we agree there. Webster's, I looked up the definition of history because it's very important in our conversation today. And it's a chronological record of significant events such as affecting a nation or an institution, often including an explanation of their causes. And as such, I think we hopefully would all agree that you need to take great care when presenting history. It needs to be fair and balanced and as objective as any human being can be, to and for all Americans, and not colored with, we don't want to color the museum in our history with your personal beliefs, biases, ideology, and preconceived notions. And I think it's important to take that step back and present a comprehensive look at American history that displays all of it, good, bad, ugly, triumphant, et cetera. Director, do you believe you've done that these
Yes,
past 7
sir,
years?
to the best of my ability.
John Smithson, when he donated, I think it was in 1826, when he donated his fortune, he said it was to increase in diffusion of knowledge among men. I think we'd all agree, people now. And the precursor to your museum was the National Museum of History and Technology, and that's important for a minute. And they wanted to always focus on the story of American progress. Director, do you love the United States of America?
I do unequivocally. And
Wonderful. I do as well, we agree. And on balance, do you believe the United States has been a force of good in the world? On balance.
The United States is the world's longest consecutive running democracy, and
So I would take that as a yes?
truly
Again, just because we have
remarkable
limited time. Yes? So
Yes, sir.
2 out of 2. Okay. And you believe we still are today?
Pardon me, sir?
And you believe we still are today?
Absolutely.
Yes, wonderful. So the United States, would you agree with the statement that we're the greatest nation history has ever known?
I think that I would refer judgment in terms of.
All right, so I got to take that as a no because
Wow.
it's an easy answer. Yes, yes, yes. So we got 3 out of 4. That's not bad.
Wow.
Under your leadership, did you direct staff to frame and tie all the exhibits in the museum to 7 core social issues?
No, sir.
You did not. Not on like race,
To the
gender,
best of my
climate,
knowledge.
climate change, immigration, economic
Wow.
equality, technical. All right, well, 250th anniversary. We agree that America's 250 years old.
Absolutely.
As far as a focus and highlight for the 250th, did you have any new exhibits on George Washington?
So we have.
Again,
about
I
25
apologize just because we have such limited time. Did your museum decide to say, hey, it's the 250th anniversary, we're going to feature George Washington?
We do feature George
Yeah.
Washington.
Can somebody take this? I don't mind.
We feature George
No, but
Washington.
did you have, you're not answering the question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Did you have any new, the 250th anniversary, and you decide as a board, we're going to have a new exhibit that highlights and focuses and celebrates George Washington?
We highlight and celebrate George
So
Washington.
you didn't have any new ones?
It is a new exhibit, sir.
You have a new one just for
In
George
pursuit of
Washington
life,
for
liberty,
the
and
250. Great.
happiness.
How about Thomas Jefferson?
He is predominantly both of
Ma'am,
them.
Mr. Chairman, I reclaim my time. We have very limited time. How about Thomas Jefferson? Did you have a new exhibit on Thomas Jefferson for the
We
250?
had a new exhibit that included Thomas Jefferson, George
But you didn't
Washington,
solely
John
focus on
Adams.
Thomas Jefferson. How about Ben Franklin?
Ah,
Pardon me?
Did you have a new exhibit on Ben Franklin?
We had a new exhibit that included Mr. Franklin.
All right, so on the founding fathers. How about great inventors, great American inventors? Any new exhibits on that?
We had a new exhibit that included many great American inventors.
A brand new one for the 250th?
Yes, sir.
You got like Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, Nicholas Tesla, Eli Whitney, John Deere. Did you also have one that celebrated a 12-day pride celebration and create a special display honoring a queer Mexican and undocumented man?
damn.
For the 250th? No,
Did
sir.
you do that this year?
No, sir.
You're under oath
Best of
saying
my
that you didn't do
knowledge.
that. Okay. All right, my
We-
time's up. I yield back.
Wow.
Ms. Preston, you're
Wow.
recognized.
She's under oath,
Thank you.
too.
Our shared American history is under attack. Donald Trump is working overtime to turn our museums into instruments of MAGA propaganda,
my God.
rather than places where American people and visitors from around the world can encounter our factual history.
Oh, good
I had the
Lord.
privilege this weekend of visiting the Civil
Do
Rights.
y'all know that her husband, I guess she's still married to him, he served like 10 years in prison. They just found a dead body at their house. Her husband, right there, guys.
Museum in Memphis, Tennessee.
I thought about doing a story on it. Maybe we'll get to it tomorrow.
A Smithsonian affiliate. And what I took in there was factual, it was powerful, it was equal parts devastating and also instructive, which is why people are working so hard to erase it. And let me just be clear, try as you might to erase black history and to erase black people, you cannot erase us.
Oh, good Lord.
But I digress.
Here we go.
The work of our museums is so very important.
It's all about
Dr.
black
Hardig, that
people.
work deserves visibility, gratitude,
It's not about
protection,
America.
not vilification and threats. Since taking office, the Trump administration has become synonymous with fascism. While there's no one-set
Wow.
definition, historians have generally agreed upon several characteristics. Dr. Blight, you were selected to be the president of the Society of American Historians, so I'm going to ask you to keep me honest on this. Now, what I've learned is that fascism usually includes elements like undermining fair elections, a constant targeting of vulnerable people
Wow.
and labeling them as enemies, and an overwhelming amount of government corruption.
Does anybody really think we have fair elections? After all the crap we saw in California, undercover, filming homeless people getting paid to sign other people's names? Wow. Just saying, the hypocrisy knows no bounds.
Sounds eerily familiar. A damning and devastating deja vu of the moment we find ourselves in right now. The element I want to focus on today is the fascist hostility to our history, academia, museums, and the arts. Dr. Blight, looking at history,
Fascist.
why do fascists and autocrats attack cultural institutions like museums?
Madam Congressman, it's because they believe that's where you can control people's minds. You can sustain a social order.
That's exactly what they're doing. Damn, blame. Oh, man. You control the speech, you control the language, you control the narrative, you control the world. That's it. That's what the left is doing. They reword everything. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you start recognizing the double speak, the new speak, you can't unsee it, you can't unhear it. And what they're saying is exactly what they're saying Trump is doing is exactly what they're doing. They want to rewrite history. They want you to mutilate your kids. They want a socialist communist state. This is what they want. The DNS is taking over the Democrat Party. We all know it.
You can control education. You can control the arts. You can control writing and creativity.
Who controls the education? Anybody? Anybody? Who has taken control of the Department of Education? The left has. Who controls all the teachers' unions? The left. Who controls education? Our kids are dumb as dirt because of the Democrats.
Itself.
Is anybody buying any of this?
It isn't not just the Nazis. There have been plenty of other
Oh my God.
neo-fascist or fascist regimes.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Indirectly saying Trump administration is equivalent to Nazis.
Do that.
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah, this is anti-freedom agenda. They want to control what books we read, what is in our museums, what we do with our bodies, attack the free press.
Oh yeah, because we don't want nasty books of what two guys do in a children's library. So yeah. Isn't she being a little disingenuous? Isn't she? Just a little bit.
Degrade free speech. It's an anti-freedom agenda.
Wow.
Dr. Blight, what warning signs do you look for when society starts drifting towards...
How about all of you guys during COVID were going to parties and all of that stuff? Gavin Newsom, all them busted, going to parties with no mask. Oh, man. Oh, but no. People couldn't go see their dying relatives because of COVID. You didn't want people going to church because of COVID. You didn't want kids going to school because of COVID, but apparently it didn't affect children. But no, you did this. You guys did this, and we're never going to forget how you shut down free speech on all social platforms because you didn't want nobody saying, no, don't go get the shot. No, there's something wrong with it. No, they developed it too fast. No, you shut them down. And you hate Elon Musk. You know, Rush Limbaugh used to say, whoever the left goes after the hardest is who they fear. Because they know this person's going to actually create change for the better. But that's not what the left wants. No. So they're going to go after Elon Musk because guess what? We have free speech now on X. Big time. Big time. And then what is Trump doing? Trump shut down the border. He's getting out the illegals. He's trying to clean the place up. Now, I'm not saying the man's perfect. I would never say that. I'm not saying Elon Musk is perfect, but I'm saying the accomplishments that they have is in the right direction for America. And this is exactly what the left does not want. Case in point. The DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, y'all saw their agenda. And we've seen a clip after clip of them infiltrating the Democrat Party and is taking over the Democrat Party. And we saw what they want. They want to get rid of the president. They want to get rid of the Senate. They want open borders. They want everybody to have amnesty. They don't want parents to have control over their own children. This is them. This is her. That's that old man that was just talking. You know, deep inside, he didn't swear to God. Because he probably doesn't believe in God, or not our God of Abraham. Nope, he doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. I think they have another master, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not Jesus Christ.
Fascism and authoritarianism.
First, I look for the breakup of political parties. then I look for this kind of
I
assault
look for it, and
on
I
cultural
find it.
institutions, on things like the National Park Service, which reaches more students than any of us who teach in universities. I look for attempts to control the media.
Oh my God. How long has the media been controlled? Did we not just have CNN, ABC, NBC, all of them refuse to play Trump's address just the other day? And then said, well, we're going to watch it, and then we're going to tell you what it said. Now, tell me that's not controlling the news. Are these people, again, once you see it, once you hear it, you can't unsee it, and you can't unhear it, what these people are doing.
Which is the dissemination of knowledge.
And let me bring up this point, too. So he brought up colleges. We all know it's not... Everybody knows colleges are nothing but a breeding ground for social studies, gender social, all kind, not teaching them anything. And all of these people are leaving college and can't read. They can't get a job because they're taking these stupid courses. And it's nothing but been a breeding ground of propaganda. We've known this. But he says Trump is fascist. Trump is trying to stifle free speech. No, you guys have been stifling free speech on all college campuses.
I look for any attempt.
What is it about the Burger King
at the control over free minds, free speech, freedom itself?
Thank you. History gives us a chilling example of what happens when a government decides that it alone will define what counts as good art and acceptable history. I've heard the stories passed down in Jewish families of Germany in the 1930s. As the Nazi regime consolidated political power, it turned its attentions to museums and to galleries. The regime started with criticism labeling art as degenerate and claiming it didn't fit with the national culture. But then they started attacking museum directors and curators, and eventually art pieces were confiscated from museums and locked away or sold in 1939.
Oh my God. Can they not talk about what is happening right now, today, in the Smithsonian? What is on display? What is not on display? What is in your little books? What are you promoting in the Smithsonian? Nope, they got to bring up some crap from 1938. What is happening? And yes, I do have it going fast because she's wearing me out.
Nazis publicly burned thousands of paintings that they couldn't profit from. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum details much of this history.
Okay.
Fascist attacks on museums are not just about history.
I don't think Trump, nobody would ever say take out anything about the Holocaust. That's retarded. No, they want to take out the books from George Tateki. They want to take out big posters of people in bondage or women boating themselves down and talking about other countries in this country where there's more than one gender in biology. You can't define a woman. What is happening here?
Today, the occupant of the White House labels entire aspects of American history as quote-unquote divisive and uses the power of his office to pressure the Smithsonian to remove, whitewash, and to rewrite our stories. I'm not here to exaggerate, just to educate. And what is spurring this all on? What fuels this? Fear of a black woman.
Oh, we fear a black woman. Okay, whatever. This is retarded. So, Trump administration wants to whitewash the Smithsonian Institution. Is that the most retarded thing you've ever heard? Wow.
Planet. Fear of a multiracial democracy. The occupant of the Oval Office.
Oh, we are in fear of a multiracial democracy. Yes, we are, because it's not what you got. You guys want to flood us with third world low IQ so we could just become a welfare state, a communist welfare state. Everybody knows it. That's exactly what you want. And I don't even think she realizes, or maybe they do. I don't know. I mean, are these people this retarded? Or this stupid to not realize what you're asking for? Is this what you want? Are you just a useful idiot to the powers that be? So once Islam takes over, and then you have Sharia law, you are a useless idiot. They don't need you anymore. You've accomplished your goal. And I think the socialist, communist, Islamists of America is just using Democrats like her to further their agenda. So once they get in power, they don't need you no more. They don't need you no more. Do they really? Do they not know this? Because that's part of history. That's exactly what happens.
2025, this cult of MAGA, they are fueled by fear
Cult of
and
MAGA.
hate. Dr. Blight, when people see the warning signs that you mentioned, why is it important that they speak up and take action?
Well, it's important because if the people don't stand up, they lose these institutions. And as you just suggested, the black world came to America for the World Cup. I wonder if people notice that the world is black and brown. And the
And when they did come here, they loved it.
teams from European countries were black and brown. And we ought to take some lesson from that. And by the way, to that point earlier, that they were getting disinformation. Well, who were they getting the disinformation from? And let's remember, what fascinates the world about America is our contradictions. It's
Your
what
time's
makes us
up,
so
sir.
fascinating. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Your time's up. Mr. Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first question is to Mr. Gonzalez. I appreciate your testimony today. We've heard some pretty concerning things throughout this hearing. I'm curious, from your perspective, what's fueling this ideological takeover of many of our institutions?
Yes, thank you, Senator Jack. Good to see you again. I agree with Dr. Blight. The fascists try to seize the past to control the future, but it really is the trademark of Marxists. This is what Marxists do. I think that people who want to truly transform the country seize the cultural institutions in order to mold how people think. This is their own words. The leadership of the Smithsonian says constantly that it wants to use the museum to transform America, for societal transformation. They see history itself as a tool, an instrument to change society. So you only have to quote what they say they want to do.
What would you say are the most egregious examples of this takeover that you've seen on display at the Smithsonian?
Well, I think we have gone through many of them here.
Shelburne RV Service.
Let me correct the record because it was said earlier that the mass toolkit was not produced by the Smithsonian. On page 64, it says that it was co-authored by half a dozen current and former Smithsonian employees. The fact that the staff of the Smithsonian is trained, was trained for 4 years for 3 years after the Smithsonian apologized. I think that's pretty damning. It was trained for 4 years on how to use history to transform America. I think the fact that for example, on the Franklin exhibit, they pondered whether he had ever done experiments, electroshock on indentured servants or slaves, without producing any evidence whatsoever. I think that is pretty shocking. Why smear a founding father such as Ben Franklin by pondering such a really bizarre thing?
Well said. Director Hardig, I'm curious, we've heard a lot of concerning examples as just referenced. Do you have any regrets in your tenure thus far of some of the exhibits that have been displayed? Do you regret any of the exhibits, and if so, which?
Good morning, sir. I am incredibly proud of the work we've done, but we are imperfect, and we surely have made mistakes, but I don't have any regrets.
Which mistakes would you say you've made?
There are always factual errors. One of my favorite currently is that one of our volunteers has pointed out that we've been mislabeling a coin in the American presidency exhibit for years, and we were, of course, slightly embarrassed about that, but we fixed it.
Have you had any negative feedback from Secretary Bunch or others in leadership about some of the exhibits we've discussed today?
Secretary Bunch and the members of leadership and I talk about many things, including our exhibitions.
Has there been any frustration exhibited about some of the exhibits that have happened under your control?
We talk about many things, and we've talked about the challenges of being an historian in these times, absolutely.
So one of the things I find interesting, and I'm going to take that as an evasive answer, and I would submit for the record, if you want to say Secretary Bunch has criticized you, it's helpful for us to hear that. But if not, we'll let that go. I'm curious if you could explain for us the 603 review process, and I think this committee is very interested in exploring that and seeing what feedback has come about some of these exhibits.
Certainly, sir. Thank you for the question. I think it started in 1995. Smithsonian Directive, SB 603, requires all of our work to go through a really very rigorous review, risk assessment. Most recently, it was updated last summer, enhanced by the regents.
So when an exhibit goes on display, it's peer reviewed. There's a lot of input about the exhibit from people that are on staff within your purview?
Wow.
Absolutely, and then it's reviewed by a higher committee of undersecretaries.
Would you be willing to submit some of those review processes and likewise some of the content within it to this committee for review?
I'm happy to check with our general counsel and get back to you.
Mr. Gonzalez, in the remaining time that we have, I'm just curious, what do we do going forward? How do we resolve this? How do we fix this? Because it's clearly a problem. It's dividing our country. What's the path forward?
I'm saddened to say that you do need to clean out house at the Smithsonian. You have to replace the leadership. I don't think the 603 review process is going to fix anything. I don't think trying to reform with the present leadership is going to do anything. They're committed to the things they want to do. We only have to listen to what they say and look at the evidence of what they have produced. I think you need to work with the Board of Regents to effect this change.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Wow.
Thank you. Ms. Crockett from Texas, you're recognized, ma'am.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to the Republicans' White Pride rally disguised as a congressional hearing. It might be uncomfortable for some people on this committee to hear about the true history of America, and I hate that for them, but facts are facts.
Wait, let's hear that again.
Content within it to this committee for review?
Hold up.
I'm happy to check with our general counsel and get back to you.
Mr. Gonzalez, in the remaining time that we have, I'm just curious, what do we do going forward? How do we resolve this? How do we fix this? Because it's clearly a problem. It's dividing our country. What's the path forward?
I'm saddened to say that you do need to clean out house at the Smithsonian. You have to replace the leadership. I don't think the 603 review process is going to fix anything. I don't think trying to reform with the present leadership is going to do anything. They're committed to the things they want to do. We only have to listen to what they say and look at the evidence of what they have produced. I think you need to work with the Board of Regents to effect this change.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.
Here comes Crockett.
Ms. Crockett, Texas, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to the Republicans' White Pride rally disguised as a congressional hearing.
Wow.
It might be uncomfortable for some people on this committee to hear about the true history of America, and I hate that for them, but facts are facts. And it's a fact that there is a violent, exclusionary, discriminatory, sexist, and racist part of American history, where our indigenous populations were forcibly displaced from their land, where thousands of black people were unjustly lynched, where black people were denied the right to vote, and they still trying to do it today.
Oh my
Where
God.
women needed their husband's permission to open a bank account, where people with disabilities were routinely excluded from schools, workplaces, and public life, where 4 little black girls were murdered by the KKK at the 16th Street Baptist Church. And a lot of this wasn't that long ago. In fact, 3 of those little girls will be 77 and 1 would be 74. More than 40 members of Congress serving right now would be older than them. Ruby Bridges, who was the first black child to desegregate an all-white school, is only 71 years old. More than 100 members of Congress serving right now are older than her. So attacks on the Smithsonian or any other institution that's willing to tell the true history of America is not only an attempt to rewrite history, it's an attempt to erase history. So Dr. Blight, if Republicans are going to ban books, penalize schools and universities, attack museums, if states continue to change curriculum, where do Americans go to learn about the complicated, sometimes racist and violent parts of American history?
Well, because they're going to learn the real history and not be indoctrinated with you fascist, leftist commies.
10 wings, $10.
Thank you for the question. I think they will have to keep going to the same institutions, and we have to keep fighting to preserve what we are doing in those institutions. They have to keep going to public schools. They have to keep going to the public libraries. They have to keep going to the great Smithsonian.
So we have to control the schools. We have to control the teachers' unions. We have to control the college campuses. This is what we have to do. We can't let MAGA come in and say, no, y'all can't discriminate. Y'all can't be anti-Semitic. You can't discriminate against the Jews. You can't do that. You can't be on. We can't let a guy with a green card, a visa, come in and say free Palestine and hate the Jews on a college campus. They're pissed. They want that to continue to happen. They want that to continue to happen. They don't want your kid to learn phonics. They don't want your kid to learn anything. They want them to be dumb so they can depend on the state. And then we could say, oh, we're just going to give you everything for free.
Look, the purpose of history is to enlighten us, inspire us, trouble us, bother us, sometimes make us angry.
How much is this guy
I
getting
find it
paid?
hard to believe that a young person could go through the Museum of American History and not come out at least inspired with the single most important thing, a sense of the past, a sense of history. Americans have to keep going to those places they trust. We have to keep
It sounds like that it's been a place to just indoctrinate people.
those institutions trustworthy.
Thank you so much. In fact, that takes me to Dr. Hardig. They accuse you and the Smithsonian of sowing division in this country. However,
Yes.
before the White House deleted it, the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security found the biggest domestic threat to the United States is violent white supremacists. So I have a couple of questions for you. First, to the best of your knowledge, has the museum ever been linked to any violent act that has occurred in the United States or against the U.S. government?
Thank you, ma'am. Not to the best of my knowledge.
No, it is a silent detriment to America because the silence is, and it's deafening, is the indoctrination that takes time and over time. And what better way to do it but the Smithsonian Museum of American History, Department of Education, and our college campuses. And they just throw us all under the bus. That's what they do. And who controls all of that? Who has been controlling all of that? The left. So now somebody comes along and goes, stop it. We don't want the woke. We don't want this socialist commie Islamism taking place in America. Stop it. Don't tell us what to say. Don't put words in our mouth because you want us to tell somebody what their pronouns are. Stop it. Just stop it.
I don't think many of these white supremacists can even read, but to the best of your knowledge, can you identify a single artifact in your museum that would divide the country?
They can't read. Are you kidding me? I saw a stat the other day. It was like I don't know if it was 1 in 9 high school kids can't read. They have the reading ability of a 5th grader.
To the best of my knowledge, ma'am, no. I hope that they unite the country through a shared understanding of our past.
Do you think, or do you ask the political affiliation of any of your employees before you hire them?
Absolutely not, ma'am. It's against the Hatch Act of 1939.
Whatever.
I'm glad that you know the law, but nevertheless. Do you ask if they've donated to political campaigns?
Absolutely not, ma'am. It's against the Hatch Act of 1939.
We need a briefing in this building, but nevertheless. Do you only hire non-white people?
No, ma'am.
In fact, almost 60% of the Smithsonian's total workforce is men, and more than 50% is white. 90% of Smithsonian employees making senior level pay are white, and 60% of them are men. I don't understand this fetish that these white guys with fragile egos have with trying to feel oppressed. It reminds me of the same people MLK was referring to when he said, quote, they believe that American society is essentially hospitable to fair play and to steady growth towards a middle-class utopia embodying racial harmony, but unfortunately, this is a fantasy of self-deception and comfortable vanity. I want to go back real quick, though, Dr. Blight, because you talked about the World Cup. The World Cup that captured the imaginations of the entire world when they saw all of these people of color that was playing for all these teams. And ultimately, if you recall, the last 2 teams, it was Argentina and Spain. And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that? Just give me an explanation if you could guess. If you'll just let them finish.
She doesn't even know.
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists as relates to
Mr. Byer,
Argentina.
you're recognized.
Thank you.
Ms. Crockett.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me weigh in to the committee. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for that sort of exaggerated opening video of Dr. Hartig, which I thought simply and respectfully recognized that our European ancestors and the African slaves they brought over came to settle and claim lands that had been home to earlier immigrants, those we call Native Americans that came between 15 and 30,000 years ago. Jared Diamond in Guns, Germs, and Steel points out that our virus and bacteria killed the majority of them. And then we proceeded to take their land, killed hundreds of thousands.
Then give them your house.
We moved them out of the regions in which they lived to reservations in South Dakota, Arizona, and other places. And we have the Trail of Tears, Wounded Knee, the Sandy Creek Massacre, the California Genocide, and the forced boarding schools. Dr. Hartig, why did you think it was important to offer a small amount of homage to those who had lived here before we came?
Thank you, sir. It's a practice that I believe in, to acknowledge the layered complexity of our land and where we're standing and all those who have come before us, and an honor to recognize the first peoples of the United States.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez talked about, quote, the erasure of American culture. I feel, especially listening to all the wonderful people today, that nothing can be further from the truth, because it's all an effort to tell all of American stories. Dr. Spalding said, tell the American national story. I mean, yes, I love America. Director Hartig loves America. Dr. Blight, Lonnie Bunch, but we don't pretend that we were perfect. It says, that we form towards a more perfect union. Dr. Blight, you talked, the most memorable phrase today was sanctioned ignorance. What would Dr. Hartig's museum look like if we suppressed everything that makes us uncomfortable?
Oh, good.
Well, it would be a nice, pleasing stroll through a museum and not much to talk about afterwards at lunch. It is. Frederick Douglass once said, America is its contradictions, all made up of its contradictions. And as a former slave, he understood that. The purpose of exhibiting history, of representing history, is not just to show the good and the bad. That's, of course, true, and everyone here has said it. But it's to stimulate our curiosity, to ask a question that we haven't asked before, to confront us with evidence.
Did y'all get stimulated seeing that picture of the bondage, the guy dressed as a woman, the book of the little girl? Wow. Was that stimulating? How about going and getting Latino Power Hat? Is that stimulating? Just asking questions here.
We haven't seen before. A story we never knew. That's what a museum should do. That's
a story we never knew. So let's talk about, we didn't know that there was 6, 7 different genders. Nah, tell that story.
That's what people will then talk about as they leave. If all they learn is a patriotic story, then frankly, professionally, curators and historians have not done their jobs. We do not serve the state. We serve the practice of the creation and dissemination of knowledge.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hartig, you've taken a lot of heat today for saying that your love for America is complicated. I'd argue that all love is complicated because we're not perfect and the people we love aren't perfect. But can you...
That boy, they can dodge around that, can't they? Either you love America or you don't. There's nothing complicated. There's nothing complicated about it.
See your complicated love also being unconditional? And what did you mean by complicated love?
Sure, thank you, sir. The placard that was held up in a march during the summer of 2020, which I think we can all remember, said, loving America is complicated. I may be misremembering it slightly. And I used that slide in a number of my presentations because I believe you can do both. I believe that loving America can be complicated as an historian. I also believe that as an individual, my love for America is unconditional.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to enter Saving America's Story for the record. No objections. Ms. Stansbury, you're recognized.
All right, well, it has been an interesting hearing, as these hearings always are, and so I have a lot of ground to cover. I want to just start out by, Mr. Chairman, inviting you to invite the entire committee to go down to the Smithsonian Museum. The American Smithsonian is a mere 2 miles from here, and I'd also like to invite some of my colleagues, if you want to come over, we can watch Drag Race, we can have some cocktails. I think you will have a different opinion once you watch it. Okay, but let's talk a little bit about the museum. I heard the testimony from the majority's witnesses today, and I have to say, I think probably most Americans, with all due respect, sirs, would have no idea what museums you're talking about, because that is not the museums as they are presented. And I think that, as many of my colleagues have stated today, if any of our colleagues had actually stepped foot in these museums in the last few weeks or months, they would actually know what's inside these museums. In fact, I go on a regular basis. I went twice over the last week. And I am curious, though none of my colleagues have stuck around to actually hear the rest of this hearing, how many people in this room have actually been to a Smithsonian museum in the last month or two? Audience? Okay, all right. We got some people in here. Unfortunately, my Republican colleagues who felt this hearing was so important to schedule didn't even bother to wait to the end to answer the question, maybe because they couldn't. Now, let me take you on a very quick, brief virtual tour of the museum since we can't physically go over there. This is the Star-Spangled Banner. This is the American flag that is famous. It is one of the most prominently displayed exhibits at the American History Museum. This is Abraham Lincoln's hat. This is the desk that the Declaration of Independence was written on. If you have been to the Smithsonian Castle for the 250th birthday, which I was just a couple of weekends ago, it is right as you walk in. So to our colleague that didn't know it was there, go over to the castle. This is, of course, R2-D2, Star Wars. We've got some Star Wars fans. Ruby slippers. This is the first Wright flyer, the Wright brothers. And, of course, this is the command module of Apollo 11, which was instrumental in the first landing on the moon. That is American history, and this is what's featured in the American History and other museums of the Smithsonian. And so notwithstanding this crazy report that just got added into the record, and notwithstanding the insane testimony we heard today, I really do encourage every single person in America and across the world to come visit one of our greatest institutions in this country. Now, there was a lot of conversation today about what do race, gender...
Why wouldn't she address what the issues that the Republicans did bring up? That's what I want to know. Address those issues. Because isn't that what everybody's complaining about? It's like, why are you having social issues part of, we're talking about retarded social issues, the woke agenda, trans men dressing as women, children, indoctrinating children to want to change themselves. This is what, I want you to address that, young lady.
Identity, culture have to do with the American story? That is the American story. We are the greatest nation on planet Earth. We are diverse. We are huge. We are filled with every language, every culture, every people on planet Earth.
So what was the culture during the Founding Fathers? Remember at the beginning of this debate where he said, what was the most famous book? And it was the Bible. You want to talk about culture, then you talk about that culture. You talk about that culture. The culture that they used to cultivate coming up with the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, all of that. Then let's talk about that.
Come here to aspire to the freedoms that are protected.
You got 1% of the population that probably identifies as some kind of gay, queer, trans, whatever the hell. So why should 1% even make it into the museum? I think they're irrelevant. Now, what's made it irrelevant is that they've made it relevant. The left has made it relevant to shove it down your throat because nobody could give a crap about it. Go live your life and shut your pie hole.
In that Declaration and that Constitution that is featured prominently in the Smithsonian Museum.
Apparently on the 3rd floor in the back of the West Wing. You have to go find it.
But our museums are also keepers of our story and all its complexity and all its pain, and they are there to also reflect who we are as people. So if there's merchandise that celebrates being Latina, count me in, I want some. I'm gonna go down and get some. If there's merchandise celebrating the LGBTQ plus community, is that appropriate? Yes.
Wow.
It is appropriate because this is our country and we
Wow.
all belong here. And our colleagues don't get to
She needs to be fired right now.
decide who belongs and does not belong in this country and whose history and whose culture and whose identities belong in our institutions. You get to decide that, the American people. And if my colleagues...
Well, I think the American people would say, no, we don't need trans ideology in the Museum of American History. You retard.
...are so concerned about protecting children from sexualization, how about you arrest some of the criminals in the Epstein case?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wow. The hypocrisy knows no bounds. So who released all the Epstein files? Trump did. Who had all of this information? Biden administration, Obama administration. They knew about Epstein this whole time, but nope, it's only a big deal. It was only a big deal because of Trump. Why are we not hearing about Clinton? Why are you not railing? Clinton had pictures of him. Clinton was there several times on the island. Nope, not a peep, but you can't find no evidence that Trump was ever on that man's island. Wow. Wow.
Maybe the president himself.
How about the like 300,000 children that came across the border, and then the Biden administration just lost track of them? Hey, we can go down that road.
If you're so concerned about the well-being of children in this country, how about you vote no against the bills that are trying to gut our education system? The bills that...
How about you are so concerned about where he actually said no more men in women's bathrooms, no more boys in women's sports. No, you can't do surgery on children. You guys did this, and Trump administration does care about children, and stop that.
that are trying to gut food assistance, the bills that are gutting healthcare.
Gut food assistance? No, we're trying to get the illegals off of it and get rid of the fraud.
Instead of voting in favor of them. If you actually care about the children and people of this country, then let your votes and your actions speak for you.
I think their votes and actions did speak for them. I think the votes and actions speak, but the left already in California has passed a bill. I will bring it up again. A 12-year-old kid has to give their parents permission to get their medical records from their doctor. Yes, go look it up. It's insane.
And vote no against the $95 billion package you're trying to move this week to send more of our children into war, in an illegal war. Now, we don't have time to close out this hearing with a proper closing, but I just want to say to my colleagues who came to share their stories, their hopes, their dreams, and the importance of these institutions, and to all of the American people out there, we will fight for the independence of the Smithsonian, and we will not go back, period.
Thank you. Co-chair, recognize Ms. Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Hartig, you've said that history is a prime tool of social justice, and that the museum works to reframe the traditional celebratory narrative of U.S. history. Isn't that just a polished way of saying that you intend to use a taxpayer-funded national museum to push a racial narrative that divides Americans by their skin color and by guilt?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Good morning, ma'am, and thank you for the questions. I have said in a number of my talks that I grow, I think, increasingly confident that history can be a tool.
So you're using taxpayer-funded dollars to divide our country by racism and guilt?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm using the power of history.
Madam Director, you changed the museum's mission away from preserving and presenting American history toward empowering people to create a more just and compassionate future. Who gave you the authority to turn the National Museum of American History into a vehicle for progressive political activism?
Ooh, good
So
question.
the Smithsonian is a nonpartisan institution. We're very proud of that.
Who decides what is just, ma'am?
I hope we can all agree that we want a just and compassionate future. We do so by preserving and sharing the stories of the past.
And are you rewriting that history? Or
No, ma'am.
No. So you are the one who is over all of this. You are the director.
I am.
And it seems that you have the authority to decide what is just and what is compassionate. What about the tens of millions of aborted babies, the babies that have been killed in America? Where's the justice and the compassion for them?
Oh, good question.
Ma'am, I believe in a just and compassionate future.
Is it just and compassionate to abort tens of millions of babies?
I'm not here at this hearing to discuss that.
Where's their history?
I am not here at this hearing to discuss that.
Is that not a part of our American history? Did that not happen?
Wow.
Or is it only
here
what you
at
care
this
about?
hearing
Is
to
it only the
discuss
issues that you care about and you being cushioned by white privilege and being propped up by your whiteness, as you claim? I'm paraphrasing. Is that what you care about, just racism and making people feel guilty?
No, ma'am. I care about the full richness of the American past. Since 1776, there's an estimated 3 billion people who have been here. So it is an honor of my life.
There's over
to
50
try.
million babies that have been aborted.
It's the honor of my
American.
life to do my best to tell the American
Director, you've
stories.
said that loving America is very complicated. Is it complicated to love your country?
I love my country unconditionally, ma'am.
And okay, so the 250th anniversary of the Declaration, you said that that should be problematized.
Yes, I did, and when historians use that, it means to add new stories.
What about when you
think
use
about
it?
it different ways? Pardon me, ma'am?
What about when you use it, Director?
When I use it, I mean to add new stories and think of new objects to tell the American story in all its richness since 1776.
But you're not going to include the babies that were killed? We can't think of those stories, those new stories to share with American people?
Ma'am, we are going to use the 2 million objects in our collection to tell the American story as fully as
And
possible.
there's over 50 billion more you can add to that. I believe when the director of America's History Museum finds it complicated to love her country and wants to problematize its founding, I believe that that's a definition of undoing our shared national story. Would you agree?
No, ma'am.
Your museum has minimized or contextualized the founders primarily through slavery and exclusion while elevating narratives of conquest, systematic injustice, and resistance. Is there any version of the American founding you consider worthy of uncomplicated celebration, or is the entire project irredeemably tainted by your view?
Wow.
So the founding, excuse me.
Let me waste time.
The founding era of the nation occupies 25,000 square feet in our museum. So I'm incredibly proud that we tell the stories of the founding.
Is there any part of it that is uncomplicated, or
oh, some of it's
can
incredibly
we celebrate without complication?
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay.
Time's up.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
ask for unanimous consent. Unanimous consent to enter into the record an opinion piece authored by witness Professor Blight and published in the New York Times titled "Trump is Bending History to His Will. He Will Fail."
Wow.
So ordered.
What a retard.
This time, I've been advised not to do this, but I'm going to do it because he's my friend. And without objection, Mr. Jackson from Illinois is waived on the subcommittee for the purposes of questioning the witness at today's hearing.
Thank you, the Honorable Chairman, Mr. Tim Burchett, my friend. Thank you, Ms. Stansberry, and all the panelists that have come today. I have enormous concern about what is happening at the museum structure, particularly under the Trump administration. History is not something that we seek to change or bend. History was taking place before we arrived. History is something that we should learn from. And to the degree that Mr. Trump, specifically on the 4th of July of 2026, took further attacks at the National Museum of African American History, I thought was very concerning. And he says that it is divisive, that we should show the happier side of American in slavery, that we should show things that we have to unify us. I think what unifies us is the truth. Mr. Blight, I would ask you, Dr. Blight, from your historical perspective, what does it say about a society that cannot reconcile its history, its truth, and where are we now?
Well, for one thing, it says it's a mature society. History's never easily reconciled. One example. Members here today have said that America is unique, exceptional, and great because we ended slavery. Actually, it is far closer to a historical truth that America is unique and exceptional in that it took a massive all-out civil war to end slavery. We are the only country or empire in the world that killed 700,000 of its own people.
And who was that president? Was Republicans. Who did this? Just going to point that out for history's purposes.
In order to no longer have slavery. We have all become abolitionists now. We all like to celebrate America ended slavery. But if we don't know the process by which we got to that point, we know next to nothing.
Well, let me ask you, there's now this attempt, if you will, they're saying that our history is divisive. There were great people, Senator Charles Sumner is a personal hero, Thaddeus Stevens, these were some of the people that were called the great Reconstructionists, if you will, that brought about America. When you cancel out African Americans in American history, you in fact don't tell the whole story. The purpose under Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who started off with African American History Week, and then Gerald Ford creating African History Month, and even to the dedication of the museum that was allocated the land by George W. Bush. How do we tell the whole story so we can show the progress that we've made and the resilience in America?
Well, Congressman, it's not simple. Last fall, with two colleagues at Yale, Beverly Gage and Joanne Freeman, I taught a course called America at 250, Our History. Now, no one teaches this way anymore. No one tries to do the whole story in one course. We had so many people attending the course, we had to hold it in the chapel of the university. And it was done under a rubric where Yale allows the community to come. We had 400 local citizens attending every day. We had 400 undergraduates attending every day. We taught the whole national story, the big picture, in one course. It was a little crazy, but we pulled it off. And we found there was a deep yearning to know the whole story, but
And I wonder how accurate his story that they're telling of it. That's also a big issue. Just saying, just throwing that out there. There is a deep yearning for knowledge because what has happened at the most basic level of school in elementary school, because you're not teaching them crap, aka the DSA, who control the Department of Education. Whose fault is it? It's their fault. There's a deep yearning. There's a deep yearning for knowledge of history. I wonder why. Wow, is that telling what he just said? Oh, so we had to go use the whole chapel because so many people have a deep yearning to know the history. What is happening?
through all of the new histories as best we could.
The new
we've come
history.
to know and understand.
The new history.
It goes without saying that if you erase your past, you'll pay for it.
Nobody's
I'd like
erasing the
to say very much
past.
thank you. And I'd like
What
to
are you
share this for the
doing?
record. I was at the dedication of the museum 10 years ago, and George W. Bush, I have to say thank you to him. He dedicated this land. He wanted it prominent. And he also said in his remarks, and I would recommend other people read his remarks, there were about 5 minutes, and this is just one brief section. He says, this museum is an important addition to our country for many reasons. Here are three. First, it shows our commitment to truth. A great nation does not hide its history, it faces its flaws and corrects them. This museum tells the truth that a country founded on the promise of liberty held millions in chains, that the price of our union was America's original sin. I went and I thanked Mr. Bush for, having made this a very prominent part of the mall, and for having brought truth to the American narrative. Dr. Blight, I'll leave you with any last words.
Well, I'd only add to that no less than Lonnie Bunch himself thanks President George W. Bush every chance he gets for the support for that museum.
Thank you, Dr. Blight. My dear friend, Dr. Tim Burchett, thank you so much for your generosity in letting me share a few minutes. Don't gavel me out. I would appreciate it so much. Thank you, Mr. Timothy Birch.
You're welcome, Chairman Jackson. In closing, I want to thank our witnesses once again for their testimony. With that, and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses. If there is no further business, without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
Wow. Boy, wasn't she a piece of work? Wow. Maybe it should speak for itself. And that last guy talking, he said, yeah, they're dedicating this, and he said that history should tell the truth. The museum is telling their truth. They're telling their speak. They're wanting to indoctrinate propaganda of retardation. And I don't know. You guys need to go look up the report. I think you could go to whitehouse.gov and get that report on the Smithsonian Institution, and definitely go and read it and check it out for sure. For sure. Go read the report on the Smithsonian and use your own critical thinking. Use your own critical judgment. Wow. Mickey Mouse is racist. Being polite is white supremacist. And you see how each one of the Democrats, and I hated sitting through their garbage, but I guess we needed to, because you could see how they did not focus on what is at hand. What are we complaining about? What did the Trump administration bring up that's wrong? Fix that. No, okay, yeah, you got a wing on the 3rd floor of the Constitution or whatever, but what about this other stuff? What about all this other stuff? And where did we all get? Remember, girl at the awards with her brother standing up and going, "Yeah, we're on stolen land." Remember all the memes that came out about that? And then some guy showed up at her house and said, "Well, she's on stolen land. She's gonna let me move in her house, all my whole family." Where do these people get this idea that we're on stolen land? And they're getting it from her. Every country on the planet, every continent on the planet was run by somebody else and has been conquered over and over again throughout history. So it's just retarded for her to keep saying that over and over and over again. But what can be unburdened by what has been And we just want to thank, we want to thank and recognize the indigenous people who we stole their land, and we just want to thank them for letting us live here. Anyway, this show went really long. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the description. And definitely, I will put the link to this if you guys just want to watch it with no commentary. I don't blame you for that. I'll put this link to this video. It's from Forbes Breaking News. So I'll do that. You guys can go check it out. Boom. And make your own choice. Tell me what you think. Wow. Is Trump a fascist, racist, sexist, Islamist, homophobe because he wants the Smithsonian American History Museum to be just nothing but the history museum and not some nightclub at 2 a.m. with transgender people hanging on the wall? It's retarded. There you go. There you have it.